Hey everyone, and welcome to Comics from the Multiverse, the DC Comics podcast from MailFuzz TV. I am Peter, and joining me as always is Matt.
Hey, what's up?
Connor's not here, which feels like it should have a Doomsday Clock issue, and at one point there was a Doomsday Clock issue scheduled this week. However, given that we have 13 goddamn books anyway, I'm actually kind of glad the Doomsday Clock got pushed again.
Yeah.
So
DC needs to figure out their shipping schedule.
Apparently did. Yeah, I was actually just saying to Matt before we started that the reason why we have so many books is because, I mean, week 4 has been a busier week for a while, but when we say busier, we're talking 8 to 10 books. We're not talking this many. And the reason for that seems to be that at least 4 of the books this week were actually books that were meant to be out before this week. Or at least, I don't know if they were all, some of them might have been solicited for this week originally, but at least 4 of these were not traditionally week 4 books, and at least 2 of them are delays. So, you know, take that for what it is, but we ended up with a giant stack. In fact, I was meant to read all 13 of these. I actually cut one. Not that it made that much of a difference in the end, but I did choose one to cull and said, you know what, I'm not reading one.
Oh, great. I wish you would have told me that. Because I read 14 because I didn't get caught up on Sideways.
Well, I did read Sideways, Matt. It's not Sideways, because you'd feel extra pissed if it was Sideways if you had to catch up.
Well, I wouldn't. I would say you missed out on a pretty decent last issue. So
yeah, it says no. It was the last. Yeah, it was the last issue. Of course, I was reading Sideways. Yeah. I like Sideways. No, I decided not to read Justice League Odyssey because
you son of a bitch. That's the one I was gonna drop.
Well, you could drop it for next time, Matt. It's fine.
Yeah.
It's fine. Do you know what's funny though? See, when I decided to drop that, I thought I had 12 books. I miscounted.
Yeah.
And then I was annoyed that I still had 12 anyway.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, Martian Manhunter was close to being culled as well, but I promised to try another issue.
Yeah, more on that later.
Yes. So the list of books this week are as follows: Heroes in Crisis issue 6, The Flash 65, Detective Comics 999, Action Comics 1008, Wonder Woman 65, Shazam issue 3, Batgirl 32, Justice League Odyssey number 6, The Terrifics 13, Silence of 14, Sideways 13, Martian Manhunter number 3, and finally Freedom Fighters issue 3. So just to clarify which ones were pushed here, Shazam issue 3 was meant to be last week.
Mm-hmm.
Sideways, I think, was meant to be 2 weeks ago, and I don't know if they were delayed as such, but at least the last 2 issues of both Martian Manhunter and Freedom Fighters were not on week 4. I think they were either both week 3 or one was week 3 and one was week 1, but neither of them were week 4, the last 2 issues. So that is why this week is inflated to such a huge extent. But I mean, Sideways did finish. We're dropping Odyssey, by the sounds of it. So, you know, that's at least 2 cut from next month, if assuming that everything else ends up. But I mean, Shazam will probably be in a different week again, and
yeah,
who knows what else. So that's what's coming up. Connor was on vacation this week. He did get back late last night, but he didn't have a chance to read any books. And again, even he had like maybe 11 books to read, so he cannot make the show this week. He'll be back next week in all his ginger glory. It is worth mentioning as well, if you're a fan of our other comic show that me and Connor do elsewhere in the Multiverse, which does the Marvel books and the indie books, we couldn't record an episode this week because Connor was on vacation. We were going to try and squeeze it in before he left, but it became unfeasible, mainly because our movie awards that the 3 of us did last Sunday went for about 4 hours. So that's why that didn't happen. But all the books are just rolling into the next episode, so you can look forward to that this coming week. Luckily, it was a quieter week last week, so it's not actually inflating it too much. So yeah, is there anything else I should tell us, everyone, before we jump in? Not quite to books. There is one thing to cover before we get to books, but don't worry, Matt. There's no news per se.
Well, as long as there's no sales figures too, I'll be good.
No, it's sales. It's exactly sales figures. That's the one thing we have.
This is the worst week of my life.
I know for a fact you've had worse weeks, Matt. I have witnessed some of the worst weeks.
True, but still, hyperbole is a thing that I enjoy. So,
what's your favorite pastime? I like hyperbole. All right, so So that's the list of books that are coming up, so bear with us. But yeah, we do have some sales figures to look at. I tried my best to get these for last week. I thought they might have been up for last week's show, and I checked like 10 minutes before we recorded, and they still weren't up. So unfortunately, they got pushed to this week. But yeah, so keep in mind that DC had that weird month where they had all of the week 4 books in week 1 from December. So there was 2 issues of some stuff that only have 1 usually, and 3 of some of the double shippers. So yeah, no, number 1 is Batman Who Laughs, issue 2.
Yeah, I knew that because Scott Snyder had said that he had the number 1 book, I think, a year apart. Like, one of them was Metal last year, and another one was Batman Who Laughs. So, I was going to cheat.
No, you'd have to cheat. But that was 116,000 copies that sold. Number 2 was a Marvel number 1, if you care to guess. In fact, number 2 and 3 are both Marvel number 1s.
Shoot, what came out that was a number 1? It's Captain Marvel.
You're right, Captain Marvel issue 1 was number 2.
I know that because I read it.
With 111. Did you like Captain Marvel issue 1?
Yeah, she fought a kaiju, and Spider-Woman was there. It was cool.
Issue 2 was better. I mean, if that encourages you to keep
I have it downloaded. I haven't read it yet, because I had flipping 14 GD books from DC to read.
Yeah. I mean, I liked issue 1. I thought issue 1 was a little overstuffed, but issue 2, it's basically a heart in like a post-apocalyptic world with like a band of resistance fighters, and it's pretty good. I like Kelly Thompson though, so I am swayed towards.
A little bit biased.
Yeah, West Coast Avengers also really good. Anyway, so number 3 was another number 1 from Marvel. They also did a Guardians of the Galaxy issue 1. This was Donny Cates' new series. It's 104,000. Those were both $5 books. In fact, number 4 is also a Marvel number 1. It just never clicked right away because it's not a traditional Marvel character.
Oh, it's Conan.
There you go, Conan. With just over 100,000 copies sold on that. So.
I have 3 issues of that to read too, because I'm there for Jason Aaron, but I haven't been that motivated to jump into it. I don't know. Seems like I should.
Connor's been loving it. I wasn't for me. I read issue 1 and I'm like, yeah, Jason Aaron's obviously a good writer, but I just, it's sword and sorcery is not my bag. So
I also blame a combination of him and of Connor and Alden for getting me to read and download those Age of the Republic books.
Oh yeah,
the one shots. Sometimes I'm way too suggestible.
Are you playing with a wrapper or something, Matt?
I was getting rid of it.
Yeah,
it was blowing around because I have my window open.
Because I could hear like crackling. Is that Matt's mic? I'm like, no, it's something. He's playing with something.
Yep, it just blew over from. I think I opened something over there, and I have my window open. Because we're, in the desert here, we don't have, like, regular seasons. We have hot and cold days. And yesterday was a cold day. Today's a warm day. So my house, I can't turn on the air. So I'm trying to adjust.
Yeah. So number 5 was Amazing Spider-Man 14 with 91,000. So that's doing quite well. An issue 14 for Marvel still in the 90,000s is actually really good. Because I feel like their number 1s always drop off quite quickly. So then we had Batman's 62 and 63 at number 6 and 7, respectively, with 90 and 83,000. I wonder, is that a notable 7,000 dip there between those 2 issues?
Well, it is the Nightmare stuff, right?
Yeah. Yeah, but what's interesting though is that like they order these books in advance and they're both in the same month, so it's odd to me that they would dip between the 2 issues, and unless there was maybe like a really good variant for 62 that they ordered more of.
Well, I do know from talking to my comic shop guy, they talk to the regular pull list people. A lot of people have been down on Batman, so since post wedding, so it wouldn't surprise me if that was when they finally decided to break up their orders.
Yeah, I mean, I love the Cold Day stuff, but yeah, Nightmare is a bit more of a iffy.
It's real hit or miss.
Yeah. So you had those 2, and then speaking of Tom King, numbers 8 and 9 were Heroes in Crisis 10 and 11, which both came out in January, with 82,000 and 79,000 respectively.
Nice.
Yeah. So Tom King had a little 4-book run there, and then number 10 is actually another Marvel number 1.
What came out?
Which is funny because I kind of expect this one to be higher, but I guess it's kind of a side book in a way.
Is it a mini?
No, it's Tom Taylor. Where's my button? Wait, there you go.
Tom Taylor.
Yeah, Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man issue 1.
Okay.
With 78,000.
I read that too. The first issue is real. It's what I like about Spider-Man. Like,
yeah,
it's not a lot going on. It's him hanging out, helping people in his neighborhood.
Issue 3, which is the last one out. Me and Carl have not spoken about it yet. It came out last week.
Yeah.
He implied that he had words to say about it. It does introduce some really hefty things, which did make me wonder, is this already a thing in the Marvel Universe, or did Tom Taylor just create this ridiculous idea? And I have no idea, but it's good fun, though.
Okay. Yeah, so I've issued 2. I haven't picked up 3 yet, but they're in backlog. So.
That's good. And then number 11, which I don't usually go to 11 with the guesses here, but hey, it's a number 1 from DC, so I'm making you guess it.
Huh. It's not Shazam because 2 came out in December, right? It's that Christmas cover, so it's not that.
Yeah, well, 2 actually came out in January, but you're right. Issue 1 was like November.
Yeah. What else was a number 1?
We had one big number 1 in January for DC.
I know. Did I read it?
Oh, you definitely read this.
I'm drawing a blank.
Young Justice.
Oh yeah, jeez. I'm so into the next issue coming out. I forgot when they come out.
I loved it. Did I read it?
It's hard to keep them all straight.
But yeah, so that guy had 73,000 copies at number 11. So hopefully that sticks around a decent amount. So I mean, hell, I'm buying it physically now. So
yeah,
there's another one for the pile. So that's just sort of glancing around. 14 and 15 were the 2 Justice League issues at 60,000 and 59,000. Green Lantern at number 18, that was issue 3 with 54,000. Detective Comics was 19 and 22 with its 2 issues at 53 and 52,000. So again, so keeping those numbers really close together. It's just that there's enough around that mark that they're split up a little bit with some Marvel books. Superman issue 7 was number 25 with 50,000. Where's Action? Action was 32 with 44,000. Oh. So keep actually there was 2 Action issues, 31 and 32 with 46 and 44,000. Yeah, keep buying Action Comics, people. It's really good. And,
yes, please.
Better than not that Superman should be doing any less, but Action should be rivaling it.
Yeah, definitely. It's a better book. So
yeah,
more people need to read it.
Shazam issue 2, 43,000 at number 34. Hopefully that stays around there. I don't want it to go any lower than that.
No.
Yeah, Flash is still at about 40,000 an issue. Yeah. Some stuff really low down. Hopefully, I mean, Supergirl's at almost 30,000. That's better than it was for a while, actually. I remember that being down at like 20. So that's good. That's good. And I know it's not DC, but more people buy X-23 because it's fantastic. You have been warned. So, alright, we'll leave that there then because we have a ton of books to do. And we will be starting with Heroes in Crisis, of course, because Heroes in Crisis, the event, the big thing that's happening. And the first day, obviously, is Tom King, and it's Mitch Gerads and Clay Mann on the art in this issue. Mainly Gerads, but Clay Mann's still in there a little bit. I think the first thing I'd say about this is that I think there's probably too many issues.
Yeah, definitely, because remember it was supposed to be 7, right? And then they added the 2 flanking issues, and then they just made them. They made it 9.
Yeah, and I really wonder if they've extended it too beyond what it should be, because there is some stuff in this that I think is good. But I was really feeling just because we've had a few of these issues now where it's very fragmented between just 2 or 3 characters, and it's just kind of. This was the first one where I really felt like I don't know if I got a full issue's worth of actual reading material in this one. It kind of just felt like little snapshots, and I'm like, I don't know. I felt a little unsatisfied as a comic book.
For the content of what it was, this felt like it would have been the perfect out of 7 issues, this would have been issue 4, right? Right at the midpoint, where we have all these questions, and then we get this really big bang of an ending, right? And then the following 3 issues would be like, okay, now we're moving. But this is issue 7, so it's like, well, what are we doing?
Yeah, we've got what 2 issues left.
Yeah.
So it's weird.
That said, I really liked what I read here. The content, I feel like Narc ruminating about what life is. I never thought I wanted to read something like that.
I have to admit, I felt like that was dragging down the issue a little bit.
Oh, see, I really enjoyed it. Just his whole persona, his whole idea of life before he was frozen and then life after he was unfrozen, and how much different it is, and would he trade one for the other, and just what that means. And he brings in these different philosophers and their takes on it, all while it's playing out. And he's writing a mammoth. That's pretty cool. Like, I'm a sucker for stuff like that. But and then the Harley and Ivy stuff I really enjoyed. Their whole relationship, and kind of us finding out that Harley wasn't supposed to be there. She snuck in.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting. I liked their dynamic together, how much they seem to care about each other. It was kind of nice. I liked that. And obviously the Wally stuff is interesting. It does create some interesting paradoxes with what we've seen already, because we've actually seen Wally die 2 ways now. We've not just seen him die once. We've seen him be killed with Harley over the back of the head, and we've seen him be shot by Booster Gold now.
Here's the thing with that, though. So when I read this, I was in shock, because Booster's my guy.
Mm-hmm.
And he's if he is the one that's done the killings, then he's out there, running around like a madman through time with Ted Kord now. So I don't think that's what it is. I think there's some creative editing going on here, with what happened with Wally.
Well, one of the big implications right now from the covers is that Wally himself might be the killer. And if that's the case, then maybe Booster saw him do it, and Wally's holding Roy after the fact. I don't like that though. I don't want.
Yeah.
I think I'd rather have Booster Gold be the killer than Wally be the killer.
Yeah, if that's where it's gonna go, I'm gonna as a longtime DC fan, it's gonna really upset me. That's up there with Rick Grayson. It's probably even worse than Rick Grayson.
It's probably worse.
At least that can be saved.
Yeah, I think Rick Grayson's easier fixed, and we can just forget about it forever. And don't get me wrong, we can retcon anything in comics. Just watch us try, but it'll take more work to retcon this.
I'm thinking that the idea of this maybe playing into Doomsday Clock, because remember in Doomsday Clock they mentioned what happened at Sanctuary. And if we're going to involve Manhattan and plucking people, and with what Booster had said, that this is a different Wally, you know what I mean? I wouldn't want it to be cheap like that, because again, we just got Wally back. But at the it leaves me with a whole lot of I don't know.
Unless, because obviously one thing I'm thinking is that we've seen 2 versions. So this is Harley's version of the story versus Booster's version, which was when Harley, hit him. Right, that seems likely, given I think, Booster did kind of show up behind Harley after she killed Wally in that version as well. Another thing is that maybe because one Wally is actually 5 minutes older, that both actually happened. And, when Harley comes in, she sees Booster, she's surprised because she just hit Wally over the head. I don't think that one's as likely, just because, again, Booster's in both versions as well. So I'm not sure. I mean, I like the build-up to it. I liked the alarms going off, and I liked Ivy saying, I'll be back in a minute kind of thing. There's some details of that I enjoy. Obviously, the most interesting part of this issue though is probably the idea that Wally, when he comes back from Rebirth, is he feels like everyone's like, oh, you're the hope of the DCU, kind of like what we were saying in real life.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, but I lost my family. I'm not happy.
Yeah, it's hard to have hope when you're not happy about it. And I like that. And a lot of people are saying this is shitting all over Johns and Rebirth, and I don't think that's necessarily true. Because to me, this is just the next part, however it plays out, and I don't like. It's the next part of Wally's story. So you can be all hopeful, but then when you get there and it's not what you thought it was, that right there is the struggle. And I like that.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with this being a plot development in the sense that it makes sense that Wally is having trouble dealing with that. To me, the way I'm kind of reading this element of it is that, yeah, we've not actually fixed anything yet. Wally represented hope when he came back, but ultimately he could never be who he was without his family, you know, because that's still erased and he remembers it. And he kind of represents us because, in a weird way, how Wally's feeling because his family's not here is exactly how we feel about the DC Universe in a New 52 world, and to an extent right now. Some people more than others, but, you know, it's hard not to read this and be, like, depressed and be like, can we fix all this, please? Yeah. And I know, like, I don't think King is an idiot. I think King knows what he's doing with how he's making us feel. The question is what is the resolution to this? Is he allowed to have a satisfying resolution to this? And even if it doesn't, is the plan to then fix whatever we end up with here at the end of Doomsday Clock? If Doomsday Clock's going to fix anything at all, I don't know. But
no, I definitely think this is like its own, like, outside of some reverberations we felt through the Price and in Green Arrow. I do think this ties itself up in a little bow. Like, yeah, there might be a little bit of threads that go on with certain characters. Like, maybe Booster, whenever we see him again, he has some emotional scars from whatever happened, or he's locked up because he is the perpetrator. But I do feel like at the end of this, it's going to leave it kind of like, well, Sanctuary happened, but it was self-contained. And they caught it.
I mean, I can still see it being undone by the end.
Yeah.
I think the most likely scenario for me now is that at the end there's just going to be that small moment of hope that somehow everyone's going to come back. Like, you remember how at the end of, like, Batman R.I.P. there was just that one... No, that wasn't R.I.P. It was the end of Final Crisis. There was that one page of, like, just like someone in a cave, but you see the shadow of the bat, and it was like, okay, he's really not dead. There's someone, you know, he's out there somewhere. I feel like it'll probably be that, knowing that the end of Doomsday Clock or whatever is coming. Is going to bring people back. I'm expecting Brightest Day 2 Electric Boogaloo, basically, at some point. Because Ivy's not staying dead. I'll tell you that right now. There's no way Ivy's staying
Ivy's
dead.
Too important to Harley. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I really loved here, is it felt like Harley's conflicted. Because we get this a lot by depending on who writes them. Like, Harley and Ivy have, like, a thing, but Harley still has feelings for Joker. It's very complex. And here, Tom King hit that all in a couple of pages.
Oh yeah, she's killing Joker over and over again.
Yeah, and on the holodeck, basically.
Yeah.
And they're bringing up different versions of him, and he's telling these really lame jokes, and Ivy's taking a lot of joy in killing him, you know, with the different vines and plants and stuff, which I also like because that gives us a peek into her psychology of either this is her girlfriend or her best friend, however they're choosing to portray it. This guy is toxic for her. So, of course, she takes pleasure in getting rid of him. And I just, again, it's all very, I don't want to say subtle because it's not that subtle, but there's not a clear-cut answer.
I'll tell you what, just to piggyback back on, you said Ivy's too important to Harley. I'll go one more cynical step as to why Ivy's not staying dead. Ivy's far too popular and sells too much merch to stay dead.
Yeah, that's true too.
Is the more harsh truth of the matter.
That's true.
Which is why I think she's actually safer than Wally is long term. But, you know, obviously I'm rooting for my boy Wally. I'm rooting for some sense to prevail in DC offices.
I mean, Pete, you're talking about three of my favorite characters being forever changed by this event. Booster, Wally, and Ivy. Like, you know, it's heavy. But again, I really enjoyed the narc stuff. I know you thought it was kind of, you know, it put the brakes on the story and kind of drug it.
It was okay. It kind of felt like at this point I'm done with these random side tangents with characters that are not part of the main story. Because we did this a few times. We had like Blue Jay, and we had a couple of characters, Hotspot,
Lagoon Boy.
Yeah, Lagoon Boy. We had a few of them in the first like 2 or 3 issues. And it was fine to introduce the idea of Sanctuary. I think at this point, now that we're post like the plot swerve of, okay, Wally's body's 5 days too old, or you know, Lois has got getting these tapes and these secrets about Sanctuary, like, and the story's broke. Now that we're at this point in the story, I'm kind of done with the random side tangents of all these minor characters who ultimately might not really factor into the plot that much. Whereas Harley and Wally are key to what's going on. They're the main focus.
Whereas I almost wish these were kind of tie-ins of these side stories of what was going on at Sanctuary. So it kind of builds out the story. And if you didn't want to read them, you kind of wouldn't have to.
I could see that. I could see. I don't know if I one shot because I don't know if anyone's buying a Heroes in Crisis Dark issue 1, but I could see like a collection, you know, like Narc, Lagoon Boy, and Hotspots, like, and that could be under Heroes in Crisis, Case Files, or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what I'm talking about. I think that would have been fine. Because, again, I'm enjoying the content. I agree that the pace is really off right now. And after the last issue ended, with how it ended, and then we really don't pick up with Booster at all this issue.
Yeah,
and now we have to wait.
Because for me, the revelation about Wally's body was the biggest thing at the end of the last issue.
Yeah.
It felt like a turning point in the series, and this kind of felt like it just went back into like the early issue mode, and that was kind of frustrating. Because I compare it to Mr. Miracle, like Tom King's other work, which we all praised, and I think almost every issue of that is very standalone and memorable in its own way. You can see, okay, that's that issue. It's the issue where he finds out she's pregnant, and they're going through the events to you know, like each issue is like this perfect kind of story on its own. I don't think this issue, in my head, you know, a couple of months from now, I'm going to be able to really differentiate between, you know, before and after it, really.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. I agree. What'd you think of Gerads' art? Or Gerads? I always forget how to pronounce it.
Gerads, it's a hard G.
Gerads. There you go.
Well, I'm not going to criticize you for it, because I said soft G until I heard Tom King say it once, and I was like, okay.
Yeah, I read it one way, but when it comes out of my mouth, it always sounds weird, so I always question myself, you know, right before it comes out. But I've seen a lot of people, I don't want to say complaining, but saying that his work seemed a little bit like sketchy or rough, but I really enjoyed it. It was a nice change of pace from Mann, especially because we were talking about some of the overt sexualization in some of the early issues with Mann. There's a page with Harley and Ivy, and they're drawn like actual people, like their proportions and the way they're dressed. Like we were talking about boob socks, right?
Yeah.
And they didn't have that look at all. You know, like...
No, that's true. That's true. Because this is the thing. Clayman's actually a really good artist. There was just a couple of choices with the female characters that really stuck out on a couple of issues.
Oh, yeah. We both agreed that it was kind of skeezy. It felt a little... And here, I felt like it was this very intimate moment between Harley and Ivy, but it wasn't played that way. It was played very, like... No, this is just a peek into two people having an intimate moment. And I really appreciated that.
Yeah, it was played like an intimate. The art lent itself to the intimacy of the moment. And it didn't feel like it was distracting from it. No. The art. I like the art. I didn't really have any problems with it. So
while it wasn't as clean and as crisp as some of the stuff we've seen out of him, like in Batman, like he did the rooftop stuff, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, with rooftops and then with all of Mr. Miracle. But I felt like it fit, especially the caveman stuff with Narc. I felt like that heavy scratchiness and rawness really matched there. But then when it came time to tell modern day stuff, I thought his Wally looked good. His Harley and Ivy. And then I'm trying to think of some of the other characters. Booster. Like that last panel with Booster and Harley. Well, not the very last, but the last one that he draws with the surprise and stuff. I thought that was a really well done moment.
Yeah, actually, I really like the pages all white with Wally kind of reaching his hand through it, saying "wait, slow down," which you know could be taken multiple ways. Is he saying "wait, slow down" because he's like going to kill someone, or is he saying "wait, slow down" because he's trying to like help whoever's there in front of him?
Right.
We don't get to see who it is.
Right.
So, but I like that page a lot. It had this.
Also, if it is Wally, like I just had this thought, and he snaps because he's lonely.
Mm-hmm.
I want a really good reason, and as of right now, I can't think of any. Like, I get that loneliness is a big thing, especially in modern day with everyone's kind of compartmentalized with social media and their devices and whatnot. But enough to go on a killing spree, I need to see the story there, you know?
Yeah, hopefully if it is, they somehow justify it. And even if they justify it, I won't necessarily like it as a development.
Yeah.
What it does to the character for the next several years or whatever.
Yeah.
But we'll see where it goes. I'm hopeful because the issue 9 cover's really teasing it, and I'm hoping that because it's really teasing it on the cover that it's actually a swerve. It's not really going to go down that route. So we'll see. You know, is it Wally from a different universe? Is it a Wally from like you know, whatever? So no. So I'm mixed in the issue overall. I think the pacing here really felt weird, especially after we left the last issue. And I don't think it stands out enough on its own as an issue with its own story, but it does have some great moments, and there's some great character little beats in there. So it's, it's yeah. What are you rating them at? I guess is what I'm getting.
So I'm gonna give it an 8. I'm pretty high in this issue.
Okay.
Yeah, I like the ruminations and but the pacing's a big problem. But I really like the art, and I don't want to say it's an upgrade. It's a nice change. Like it kind of refreshing things.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it.
That was air pressure shutting my door. Sorry.
Yeah, I thought it was one of the dogs. It was like slamming the door. Matt's not paying attention to me. How dare he? Here's a crisis. I will. Random noises coming from the.
Yeah, at a break, I'm gonna have to shut my window because the wind's kicking up. So.
But yeah, so. I'm going to have to go 6.5. I was going to go 7, but I think I'm feeling murky in the pacing right now, and I think because of that I have to go with the 6.5. But it's it's maybe a little bit too long. I'm obviously we'll get 2 issues left. We'll see how it ends up in April. That's the last issue, April. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. But yeah, I saw over social media and in our group and stuff. A lot of people were kind of down on this issue, and I get it. So I shouldn't be surprised. But yeah, no, I like the thing more than most.
So we have a quick break about every 30 minutes in the recording. Not really to do it. I mean, sometimes we'll go to the bathroom or whatever, or get a drink. But mainly, it's just so that it's just good practice to cut your recordings into little chunks. So if you lose something, you're losing the last 20 minutes instead of the whole thing. Anyway, so I just had to check my phone between. Connor on Facebook just said, "Okay, I'm actually not sure I want to bother finishing Heroes in Crisis." So he clearly did not like this issue. He's obviously reading books right now.
He's really all over the place sometimes.
He's the ginger degrader, as someone has named him. He's been coined. But hey ho.
Where did he say this at?
Thread, comics thread.
Okay. Gotcha.
So
I haven't commented there yet, so I'm not getting updates.
It's start of the month. That's right. It's a new thread.
Yeah.
So yeah. Actually, I was going to count down there again. Next up, I forgot we were on the show already. All right. Next up, then we have the Flash issue 65, which is the final part of The Price, which is kind of tying into Heroes in Crisis. And this is obviously Joshua Williamson writing with Rafa Sandoval on the art. He's been doing the Flash issues, whereas we had Gilla March, unfortunately, on the Batman issues. So the art's better again, back up to the Sandoval standard, which is not amazing for Flash, but it is much better than Gilla March. So take that for what you will.
Yeah, so not that great. It felt like here some of the art choices were really, really off.
Mm-hmm.
But, that seems to be this entire arc. Everything seems really, really off.
Yeah, it's funny. Like, I think one of the things we said last issue, maybe the last 2 issues of this crossover, is that anything dealing with the Flash and him coping with Wally's death and the Flash cast of characters tended to be pretty solid, but the Batman side of things felt a bit more murky and less, I don't know, formed, I guess. Gotham Girl being the major part of that, and I kind of came out of this feeling the same. Like, I think the Flash stuff in this issue, maybe some of the best Flash stuff yet. Irish slapping Batman was actually very enjoyable. I'm sure you loved it.
Oh, I love that. I love Barry at the end telling him the difference between me and you.
Yeah, because they get into a really heat. Because I like this scene at the end a lot. They get into this fight, tensions get high, and Barry, he says, "Oh, maybe we shouldn't bring people into this life because we just keep getting them killed." And I like this because both of these characters do have a lot of family characters. They have a lot of sidekicks. They have a lot of younger versions, that kind of thing. And Barry says something on the lines of, "Oh, what's another dead Robin?" And Batman hits out with, "Well, at least I didn't forget my partner existed." And I'm like, "Damn, Bruce!"
And I want to look at Bruce and go, "That's not fair, man. You're punching below the belt there because." Batman is responsible for a couple dead Robins.
However, as much as I was about to stick up for Barry, I'm like, wait a minute. Flashpoint was kind of Barry's fault.
Oh, kind of. It definitely was. But
I say kind of because Manhattan and Co. I mean, there's more facets here that we don't
There's
quite get.
There's more going to be there, but Thawne was at play there and was manipulating Barry.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so that said, again, Bruce hitting way below. Like he could have said any number of things.
Yes.
You know, or go run and hide or whatever. So had Barry punched him out, I'm like, well, that's what you get. Like, run your mouth, get dropped. Like that's it. But yeah, I love that scene, and it should come as no surprise.
Yeah,
because Batman really comes off as a right dick. He
comes in at full speed force, and then he's got to punch Batman in the face, and he stops at the last second. Like his fist is right in front of his face, and he's like, "I could hit you anytime I wanted to," but like it's a good moment. I mean, sure, like it's annoying that everyone's like depressed and like, angry right now. It's making for frustrating.
And this is what I like over the arc with Williamson is he really went out of his way to show at the beginning of this, like Barry and Bruce are actually really good friends. Yeah. They both respect each other. So at the point where they're both ready to kill each other at the end because of the events,
kill's a bit far, Matt.
Well, when I say kill, I mean like they're ready to throw down with each other, and you've never really seen that with Clark and Bruce, right? Like. The respect's always there. Like, that Bruce wouldn't have said anything like that to Clark, or vice versa. So the fact, like, now we're at this point because of Gotham Girl and what happened at Sanctuary, I thought that was a nice arc. Yeah. It might be my favorite thing about this arc because the rest of it, I feel, was just we were spinning our wheels while filling some time.
I'll be honest, I when Gotham Girl looked like she was going to die and they're trying to save her, I was ready for her to die and I was expecting it, and I thought that's okay. She's kind of at this point I don't really care about her, but then they saved her and put in her tank, and like I'm going to train her and let her be a hero now because if she's going to do it, then I might as well train her to do it properly. And I'm like, okay, I like Batman's reasoning that that's kind of always been his thing, but you know what? After this story, like she doesn't seem to remember what she did or why she did it.
No,
which is
weird. That's cheap to me.
Yeah,
like. That she has no agency in what's going on, and that makes everything she did, it doesn't matter.
And it makes and all of her complaints about being a character, sure, it kind of fixes that in a weird way, but it does satisfying. Like, there's ways to do this. There's ways to there's like a puppeteer behind the scenes, right? There's ways to do that and make it work. I don't think it worked here.
Oh no, it definitely didn't, because they even say that, like, oh, whoever gave her that super venom, they're the ones that are in charge of here. What's their bigger play? And I was like, well, you had everything right there. Venom changes things. Like, there's been stories where Batman's gotten a hold of Venom, and it's completely made him, like, psychotic. So all she had to do was apologize and go, oh, I just wanted my brother back, and I know I messed up. Because at the end of the day, nobody really got, like, the Flash Museum got trashed, but no one really got that hurt, So I can see her apologizing, and then that's on Flash and Batman. All right, well,
Joe's especially murky about this is that at the start of this story, I just assumed, okay, Bane's behind this because we know she's cahooting with Bane in some form or fashion. At the end of this story, I'm not even convinced it is Bane. It feels murky. Like, are they implying someone else did this to her and like it's unconnected with the Bane stuff?
Maybe unconnected, but I'm feeling it has more to do with the Flash, and we had that whole the person that got out of the prison that Commander Cold's worried about.
Yeah, I could see that.
You know what I mean? From the future. I'm feeling that has more to do with it than Bane, but then that kind of goes against that panel that we got with all the villains standing there, and it makes me feel like it's more what I'm looking for. Not hypothetical, but they weren't all really standing there. Yeah, if you know what I mean. Like, it was just a representation of what's going to go on with Batman. So
that'll feel cheap if that's the case, because it felt like such a clear, like, here all these people are in cahoots here.
Right, but if that's the case, then wouldn't have this messed up Bane's whole plan? Like, I'm just looking at the interior logic here.
Well, that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking this isn't Bane that has anything to do with this. I think this is someone else who's taken Gotham Girl and done this.
But remember, Gotham Girl's on that page with Bane and all the other villains.
Well, I know, that's what I'm saying. That's my complaint, is that I feel like this is a third party who's taking Gotham Girl from that situation and gave her the super venom. I mean, and no, before anyone says anything, I realize I'm saying that Venom's involved and it's not Bane who's done it. But I don't understand why Bane would want the Flash Museum to be trashed. I don't understand why Bane would care about any of this.
And so that's what I'm saying. Yeah. Like, if Bane is a mastermind in all this, don't you think he would have, taken a little bit more interest in Gotham Girl? right? And been like, well, this might mess up my plan.
Or,
So I just feel like
uh,
King and Williamson maybe missed something here.
or
You know,
unless
like
unless the point is that because at the end this teases You're the Villain, right? So You're the Villain seems to be it's going to be more of an event than we thought it was, just based on the ending of this. I'm wondering, like, what if like whatever Bane and all the cronies he's got in Batman is actually somehow feeding into what You're the Villain is going to be. In which case, okay, then maybe it does sync up, and you know the reason why Gotham Girl was attacking Central City or the Flash Museum is because of someone else's interests. Like, is there some sort of secret society that Bane's a part of, or something? I don't know.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
Like, because so I mean, I like the stuff. Iris leaving for a bit because she can't handle everything that happens around Barry. Because you know,
very understandable.
Yeah,
like,
what I like about this is I think, like, you know, 30 issues ago in The Flash, if, like, Barry and Iris, when they were starting to maybe, like, get close again, if she'd run off because she got mad at him, I'd have complained that I was like, oh, are we doing this again?
Yeah.
I think Wally dying and this being connected to, like, Flash and Batman and everything they do is actually enough of a justification for me where it feels very natural that she would want to get away from him for a while. I hope we don't. I hope we still see her. I hope we still get to see what she's doing when she's away from him. But it makes sense to me to have her, because she has been very attached to what Barry's been up to recently in the books. She went on the trip with him. She's been helping him. But it makes sense to me that she wants time away from him, and you know, it may make the eventual reunion that much sweeter when you know everything clicks together. But
no, I get it. Her like I just need some time for me, and you go to you, which is nice too, because now we're gonna get hopefully we get back to Barry in Iron Heights figuring all this stuff out. Because that's still going on. Like last month before this started, Commander Cold and what's the detective's name?
Burns.
Oh, jeez, Burns. They were stuck in the Tricksters plot.
Do you want to know?
And stuff.
Do you want to know why I've never forgotten her name? It's because the issue I learned it was because it was a Heatwave issue.
Heatwave.
Yeah.
That's right. So hopefully we can double down on some of that, because that's the stuff I'm really enjoying in Flash. As much as I like Barry and Iris's relationship, it is kind of in a holding pattern, and the stuff with Wally is really a good place to change it up.
So the epilogue, then we have to talk about the epilogue that teases this Year of the Villain. So Batman's looking at a wall of a bunch of heroes. We have who am I looking at here? Atom. Oh, who's the second person in that image?
Let me pull this up.
Oh, it's Martian Manhunter, I think. Isn't Martian Manhunter? That's Green Arrow, Hawkman, Hawkgirl. I don't know who that is. Mr. Miracle, Plastic Man, Damian's in there. Wonder Woman.
Well,
sorry?
well, Damian, of course, is there. He's very untrustworthy.
Yeah, you get Donna, Flash, Hal, Cyborg. Is that
Black Lightning?
Yeah, I think it's Black Lightning. And then, I don't know who that at the end of the second row is.
I see Zatanna in the third row.
Yeah, Batwoman's there, Guy Gardner's there. I think that's Shazam there, Swamp Thing, maybe Booster Gold, Blue Beetle.
Yeah.
So there's actually people at the sides as well, but that's the main wall. Even Batgirl's on the side. Jessica Cruz is on one of them as well.
Wait, there's two boosters. And the one, unless the one next to Zatanna is not. Oh, that's Animal Man. Never mind.
Yeah, that's not. You're thinking that because of the mask that goes around his head.
Yeah. Yep.
Anyway, so he's looking at this big wall and he's talking to someone that we can't see yet, right? It's just these bubbles are just floating, and he's basically. I'm gonna just read this again, just to say this out loud, right? We have saved the multiverse a dozen times at least, and 11, you missed one by my count, blah blah blah. So this is different. You don't know him like I do. He could have gotten to anyone, turned them. We need to investigate everyone who hasn't acted like themselves in the last few months. So first of all, who's him? Is he talking about Bane? Is Bane gotten to someone? Is it spinning out of that?
No.
I don't know. We don't know who we can trust. And then, we turn the page and it turns out it's Superman he's talking to. And he's like, oh, we should go to Barry, we should go to the Flash because he can help us investigate. And Batman, isn't willing to answer the question, you don't think we can trust the Flash? And that's kind of what we end on, is his hesitation. I guess that means Batman thinks he's been acting out of character, because that's what he says, is that we have to look at who's been acting differently in the last few months.
Yeah.
I don't think it is the Flash. Whoever the mole, if someone does turn out to be a mole or someone who's been turned or flipped, I don't know who it's going to be.
Barry.
I don't think it's Barry. No.
Yeah.
I'm going to go out on a limb
there's-
here. I'm going to say that it's no one who has a book.
Yeah.
That's my first guess.
That's a safe bet. That's
Yeah.
a safe bet.
It's someone who doesn't have a book. You know, we saw in there, like I don't want them to do this to Animal Man, but Animal Man's the sort of character where it's like, yeah, they can probably get away with doing it to Animal Man, and no one's going to complain that much.
Yeah.
But
Or even Hawkman. You could kind of do it with Hawkman, but that would be out of character in his book, although not really, because it involves multiverses and time streams, and I wouldn't like to see it, but I could see it.
yeah, up until now, like, you're the villain, we were like, what is this? Is it a mini? Is it one shots? What's happening? It seems to be actually an event that's happening later in the year. It says in the near future.
Yeah.
It's presumably this will be starting after the end of both Heroes in Crisis and Doomsday Clock, which is nice. I mean, it means they're wrapping those up before they start the next thing, unless you're counting DCeased, but DCeased is out of continuity, so I wouldn't. So we'll see what this is. I mean, we can't trust one of the Justice League members. Okay, we'll see how that goes. We'll see who's writing it for a start. Like, is it Williamson because he's teasing it, or is it King because it's maybe relating more to his story, or is it just someone else entirely? Who knows? But it does make that Free Comic Book Day issue a lot more curious. To see what that's setting up. In fact, we might even get an announcement this month because WonderCon. They might even do a big blowout and say, "Hey, you're the villain's coming." Yeah. So it's a mystery, even though Heroes in Crisis was kind of just a mystery as well, but it's a different kind of mystery. This is an espionage style mystery. All right, that was the prize. I mean, I think this was probably the best of the 4 issues because of all the Barry and Batman stuff and because of the Irish stuff. So it's probably my favorite. The Gotham Girl stuff, though, by this point, I couldn't give a shit about. I was just lost on it.
Yeah, she's kind of a lost character as far as I'm concerned.
So, but hey, that is the last part of the price. Matt, what are you giving the issue?
I'm giving it a 7. Like, the art was kind of, it was fine, but nothing great, and had some really good moments. But overall, it's kind of just, like I said, spinning its wheels while Batman gets back to normal and Flash gets back to normal.
I think I'm going to agree and give it a 7, which is actually 0.5 higher than Heroes in Crisis. And the reason why I'm justifying that is because I think the emotion of the Barry Bruce stuff and the Irish stuff actually worked better than what some of Heroes in Crisis did, even though the Gotham Girl stuff itself was weaker. But this had more of a finite point. It made more of an emotional impact by the end. So I'm going to go with that. So that's a 7 out of 10 for me. Which will take us on to Detective Comics 999, Peter J. Tomasi writing, Doug Mahnke on the art. This is obviously the last issue before the 1000th issue, and it ends this arc. So, if you remember our confusion over the last issue, because it ended with, out of nowhere, everything fell away as if it was a computer simulation, and there was this kid version of Batman, and we all went, what the hell is going on? What is this shit? Right? This issue is the end of the arc, and it explains it. So, every year on his birthday, Batman has been putting himself into this simulation, and the point of it is to kill himself. And in the sense that it's very symbolic. He buries the child version of himself. The idea that he lost his childhood the moment his parents were killed, and he's willingly giving it up. And even the kid version was like, no, so many other people have had childhoods because you didn't have yours. It's this thing, and like I don't even hate this issue on its own. This issue, the idea itself doesn't annoy me. My problem with this issue is that I don't feel they set up this reveal at all before it happened.
There's zero. Because when Leslie Tompkins died early on in this, it didn't feel right. It didn't feel like there was this big emotional moment with her dying. Mm-hmm. And so that was the first moment I felt like it was off. And I was like, all right, who knows? But then it just kind of lands with a thud. And I don't even like this, like the symbology of this. Like, the whole arc's called mythology. And
symbology, is that even a word?
Yeah, no, it is. I've seen Da Vinci Code.
Okay. I thought it was symbolism, but you're gonna go.
Yeah. But like him burying the young version of himself and just like him yelling Gotham needs me, and I was just like, everything I don't like about Batman in one place. And just the whole fight against himself and replaying the year one scenario with the bell. Like,
Yeah.
how many times have we seen that now?
I know.
You know?
It's been a lot.
Like,
Like, this is the thing. Like, back the first couple of issues of the arc, I quite liked, and I thought Leslie's death actually was handled fairly well. I thought it was like a death that worked because it had some impact because of who she is, but she's not a big enough character that it was like, oh man, they're breaking all the comic book rules by killing her. So it kind of worked for me, and then I thought the second issue, when like they're in the mansion and then Zorro shows up and like attacks Alfred, I liked that issue a lot. I was really on board with that issue. And then it kind of started to dip, and then we got to the Mr. Miracle one, which was just one giant escape sequence, which was kind of just because Batman, and then the Etrigan issue last time was just really bad, with the twist at the end that, you know, what the hell's going on. So for me, like, my problem is at the start of this arc, there's nothing about it that felt like there's something not genuine, that we're in a simulation, we're not in the real world or whatever. And I liked it when it was a real story. I liked Zorro showing up when it was a real mystery. Who is this? What's going on? The revelation that we're in just some sort of Matrix program this entire time bugs the shit out of me. And I'm going to, you know, as much as I've not been loving Nightmares and Batman, I'm going to give it some credit, because from the first issue of that arc, it felt like this isn't real. It's intentionally giving us the feeling that we're in something. Even if you're not loving what it's doing, it's like, it's making it very clear that we're not in the real world, that there's something going on. And it does that with every issue. So it's gotten more and more, you know, obvious with each issue. This, it was like nothing for 4 issues, and then the end of last issue, it was just like, boom, here's this what the F ending, and it's like, okay. It's not satisfying.
And just for Tomasi to be doing this at the same time as King is doing something similar, I don't know, like, what are the editor's jobs, if not to try to clear that up?
It's weird.
You know,
I don't get it. And don't get me wrong, like, I'm glad it's done. And, you know, Bruce goes and takes Leslie to dinner at the end, and I just kind of groaned because I felt like, obviously I didn't expect her to stay dead forever, but like I just felt like, like that. I felt really kind of eye roll at the end of this, and I wasn't really digging it. I hate to say it, but as much as I loved the first 2 issues of this arc and enjoyed the 3rd issue well enough, it just tanked for me. And I mean, this was better than the last issue because it was just dealing with it and just telling me what was happening, whereas last issue, the moment at the end just made me angry. This didn't make me angry. I was just kind of like, as I say, like the entire time.
I groaned. I was like, oh, like, all right. Like, it was basically because Batman, like, and I just don't like him running a simulation every year to bury his childhood. Like, I don't know.
I know, it's just one of those concepts that I don't like that much either. I feel like, you know, like, we're going into 1000, we'll see what Tomasi's doing post 1000, and obviously we're going to keep reading it, but Tomasi for me is a writer who I'm kind of lukewarm on now. Like, he can do good stuff, but honestly, like, he's got just as much bad, if not more of it, than he does good now at this point.
He's kind of reverse Abnett in that for me, where I hear Abnett's coming to a book, I'm like, oh, okay. And then I usually end up liking it, like Silencer, right? Like, I didn't like that first issue, so I didn't read it, but then you guys talked about how good it had gotten, so I caught back up, and I'm enjoying it. And then I feel Tomasi's where I'm like, oh, cool, Tomasi's taking over tech. Cool, what's he going to have in store? And then it's this, and I'm like, oh, crap. But then I read Adventures of the Super Sons, and I'm enjoying it. So he's really all over the place.
Yeah, he really is. It's hard to predict if I'm going to like his stuff. Now, at least this arc is done, and it doesn't feel like... This is not the sort of thing where, like, we have to keep coming back to this in the next, like, several arcs of his run. Like, this... Well, I don't want to say it can be forgotten completely, but it doesn't have to be brought up again. Like, we've done it now. It's ended.
There's no staking power other than him kind of retelling Batman's origin and why he's good at everything. You know? Like, other than that. But there's no like, indication about Arkham Knight coming or anything like we kind of thought this might have been heading towards. And that was kind of disappointing. But, yeah, this one was a big whiff. And for it to be 999 too, like, you kind of want something a little bit more meaningful.
Yep.
Right before 1000. So.
Yeah. Yeah, I wasn't feeling it. I really wasn't. I obviously I hope it picks up again after. Although you know I got the physical. I have been. I'll get the physical 1000. I think I'm going digital afterwards because at this point I'm not trusting Tomasi. I don't think I can trust them.
Yep, I told my shop to take this off my pull list. I'll read it digitally, but I just give me 1000, and then I think I'm gonna stop because I need the space, especially if it's gonna keep double shipping after 1000. Like
it is indeed, yeah. So what are you giving Detective 999?
It's a 6. Like the Mahnke's art was fine. I think we didn't really talk about that. Like
yeah, but he's been fine.
Good.
And credit to him.
The stories.
He did the whole arc. You know, he did like 6 issues in a row. So credit there for that.
Yeah, but yeah, the overall story I wasn't really big on, and just unfulfilling.
Yeah, because I quite like that 2-page spread of all the bat suits. You know, when he gets up, you know, you see like the original through, you know, recent times. So that was nice. I guess the thinking here behind the scenes was probably like, oh, we'll do an arc that's just about the nature of Batman getting into 1000, right? The idea that we'll recap the history of Batman before we hit 1000. Better ways to do it. Don't ask me what they are. I'm not a writer. I'm not my job to come up with them. I'm just saying this was not the best way of doing it. So we'll move on then to Action Comics 1008. Brian Michael Bendis, Steve Epting on this book, Leviathan Rising Part 2. So you know, I feel kind of bad because I've been kind of middling to. Did I rate Detective actually? I don't think I did.
Yeah, you didn't.
I did. Detective Comics I will give 5.5. So I've been kind of middling to negative kind of here, right? I mean, sure. I mean, I didn't rate Heroes and Crisis and Flash that low, but there were, you know, there was a lot of caveats. There was a lot of here's what I don't like about it kind of thing. So I'm happy to say I have nothing but praise for this book. Action Comics was fantastic.
I waited all week to save this for last.
Yes.
And after 14 books, I was so relieved that I got to the end and was like, well, no, now I need 09. Right now. I need to know what's happening, which has been a theme with this book since Bendis took it over. Director
Bones, first of all, I love seeing Director Bones. And I love that he was set up in Supergirl just, you know, last year. And now, you know, he's here in Action Comics. Adam Strange has been brought in, potentially to be hired by him.
I love the idea that Bendis likes Adam Strange, because remember, when Earth disappeared in Superman, it was Adam Strange that made the call, I want to report a missing planet.
And it's kind of referenced, because he mentions, you know, after what happened with Zod, and he's like, what happened with Zod? Oh, it's a long story. And like, that's interesting. And we've got Sam Lane meeting up with Amanda Waller at a theater, and she's got like face tech. She's got the Mission Impossible kind of like fake face, and like, hey, something's happening, you know, because obviously Waller's team get attacked last issue, and at the start of the issue, it's the Didio who get wiped out by this big blue light jellyfish thing, as Clark describes it, and then, you know, so they meet up and they're talking about this, and then they realize that, hey, you never called this meeting? No, did I? Shit, we need to get out of here. And it's them trying to leave for the exit, and this hulking figure. We don't get to see who it is. We just see like the sort of the silhouette essentially coming through the fog, and the building gets blown up. And you know, Waller and Lane are like fighting for their lives. And then Waller shoots Lane, and it has his shield. He's got like a a fancy tech thing on.
Yeah, she sacrificed him.
Yeah, so she can get away. Yeah, she downs him so she can escape.
Yeah. It's that thing. It's like if you're ever being chased by a bear, you just have to outrun the person you're with. Yeah. You don't gotta be faster than the bear. You just gotta be faster than the person you're with. So that's what it felt like to me. Because at first I was like, that's weird. Like, she's not. Because clearly we know she doesn't turn on him. But yeah, it was definitely her ploy to get away. Because Amanda Waller doesn't give two craps about your feelings. Yep. She's gonna survive.
And and Sam just says Lois, as it looks like he's about to be killed by whatever this thing is that's coming towards him. So I don't think he's dead, but it definitely the moment works. The moment works for what it is.
Especially after last issue where Lois told him about Superman,
and she almost tells Clark she did that this issue. So so he didn't know in advance. She did that herself, and is going to tell him now. But Lois gets taken to the planet. They're kind of bickering about what to write the story of the whole,
I could type as fast as you could, the story would be done.
Yeah.
Like, I love her taking shots at him like that.
Yeah. But she goes back to the planet. She's reinstated. She's there, and she's. I love when she goes past Good, and she's like, "This used to be my cubicle. Enjoy." Yeah. I was like, "Yeah, still the shade." Yeah. And Jimmy's like,
but she gets a corner office.
She does, yeah.
Yeah, so that's always good. But yeah, Jimmy hiding under the desk might have been one of my favorite things all week.
I know.
Because he's sleeping.
I loved her calling it though before he did it. Like he's and this is the moment where Jimmy hits his head, on my desk, and then clunk. I was like, okay, all right, I'm digging this.
I'm trying to think of what the actor I would want to play Jimmy Olsen, because he kind of has a Jake Johnson vibe here, where he's explaining everything he's went through, with Cobra, and he's like, yeah, this blue jellyfish thing showed up. And like there were snake people, and it took all the snake people out, and I haven't slept. Like I need help, and he's just very or maybe not Jake Johnson, maybe Charlie Day, like that kind of manicness to him.
Yeah, I don't know if their voices are right for it though. Like I feel like
no, but the physical presence is more what I'm going for. Like this erratic, like because he's not gee golly gosh, Mister Kent. Or whatever. I like how they're playing Jimmy up as he's his own journalist. Like, yeah, he's a photographer and he's a photojournalist, but he's just as, I don't want to say because Lois is like an all-timer, but he's up there with the rest of the Planet staff. Lois excluded.
Yeah. So that was the main beats of the issue. And
then Waller shows up
at the end. Yeah, at Clark and Lois's place.
Yeah, and says to Clark, Superman, I need your help. So, of course,
And she even says it's Leviathan. She says that, right? She says it's Leviathan.
Leviathan strikes.
So, no, like I'm digging this. The art's really good. Epting's fantastic. That full page spread of Lois and the planet for the first time again, and everyone kind of around her. Gorgeous. Like the art throughout is fantastic, especially the shadowy, more covert stuff with Waller and Lane and all the sneaking around.
The pacing in that scene shows that Bendis and Epting, because I don't know if they've worked together before. I'm sure they have here or there at Marvel, but just the pacing there with I didn't order this, this meetup. Well, I didn't either. And just the oh shit looks they give, and also shout out to the fact that they're in Ohio, which that's where Bendis is from originally, where the character was created of Superman. Like I like when he throws those little things in there. But yeah, no, Epting, just the pacing throughout this issue, it went from breakneck kind of stuff to slow down and take our time back to breakneck, which that's a real skill.
Yeah, no, this was such an easy read for partly for that reason. We should probably just have a glance at that first page because Bendis likes to put all these Easter eggs and things in there.
Josh Williamson's been taken out.
Yeah,
I know that.
Yeah, it says Dr. Fate, James Gordon, Kate Spencer, and then scored out as Joshua Williamson. Sam Lane scored out as well, worth mentioning. And it's also worth mentioning that Steve Trevor and Bones are on that list. But of course, Adam Strange saved Bones, he's behind. So,
well, kind of, we saw Bones crumple. Right?
No, the last page of him was looking up, right? So he's down on his knees and then he looks up, kind of thing.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
So he's I think I think he's not dead. Okay. I mean that'd be my read of that. But so we got this hit list here. We have Hero Dials in the Wild, so that's obviously a tease for Dial H for Hero. No More Heroes, No More Villains, Checkmate's mentioned, Spiral, Sugar and Spike Inc., Shade, Cadmus, and there's actually Checkmate soldiers on the front cover with Jimmy. So.
Yeah,
I'm curious to see how all these play into it. And I don't know, it's intriguing. It's intriguing me.
Yeah. Well, then if you look right below where the DEO and Cobra Cult, those are swapped out, and then you have Argus, Spiral, and all those. There's Crisis we know, right? And there's a list, and it says the Infinite Earth, the Crisis in Time. Oh, so right there you have Crisis on Infinite Earths. You have 0 Hour. You have the Infinite Crisis, which is, the Johns. Then you have the final question mark crisis, the Flashpoint crisis, the Convergence Crisis. So they're counting Convergence as a crisis now, and the Dark Multiverse Crisis.
I never
So
even.
as of right now, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. How many did they say were in Young Justice? Was it 7?
I think it was 7. Yeah, 7 sounds right.
So these are the 7 that Bendis is working on, or working from.
Yeah, working from. Yeah, I never even noticed that list. Do you know what's funny? That Flashpoint Crisis. I thought that said Elephant Crisis, and I went, "Oh, what's coming up? Elephant Crisis." What are we doing with that?
Then I'm looking at the map. That's behind the X'd out Cobra logo, and I feel like I should know where that is, but I don't. It looks like it's somewhere in Northern Europe, but
yeah, I can't tell you.
I don't know. But yeah, trying to look at some of the Checkmate stuff. So they have the personnel, you can zoom in on it and whatnot. So yeah, and just knowing like Checkmate was one of Rucka's babies. The fact that we know he's coming to write a Lois book, so we know he'll probably give Bendis some input on how to handle that. And Fraction's going to be doing a Jimmy book, and I think he'll be able to handle this Jimmy, make him unique. So it's very exciting for Superman right now.
Oh yeah, I mean, unless you're someone who just hates Bendis' writing, and there are those of you out there, like we get Bendis, Fraction, Rucka, and then I wouldn't have known who and Draco was really before Supergirl, but Supergirl's been fantastic. So, like, Superline's in a really happy place right now, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. Yep. So.
No, that's a great issue. And the intrigue of what's happening, the build of it, it feels like it's getting bigger with each issue. The fact that we start off this one with Bones and Adam Strange is like, okay, it's hitting other major characters now. And then the idea of Waller at the end of the last issue not wanting Superman's help, and then after this encounter, it's like, shit, I need Superman. It's really intriguing to me. It shows the rising in the stakes. And I really like that.
Very much.
What were you rating Action Comics 1000?
Oh, this is a 9. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah, I'm giving it a 9 as well. It's excellent. So we can move on then to Wonder Woman issue 65. G. Willow Wilson and Jesus Merino on the art. So yeah, so Kale's suing Wonder Woman for interfering in her own soldier's private business. Her soldier being Nemesis, of course.
Which understanding, but then when we find out what happens, it's like, oh geez. This is a wicked web we weave.
Yes. So we hear basically just people in the news talking about it, and Wonder Woman's pissed about what she's found out from last issue about her home being gone and everyone going. And do you know what I liked about this is Aphrodite kind of theorizes, and I like that this is just a theory, but she theorizes that because Themyscira existed to House Ares, if he killed himself, he might have created a paradox. And that's what's caused what's happening with everyone being jettisoned and like the Olympus and Themyscira being gone. And what I thought was interesting is that, and she points this out, is that, hey, don't fear for all your loved ones from Themyscira. Like, because of me and like the other mythical creatures showing up, there's good enough reason to think that they've popped up somewhere, that they've went somewhere, they've not just disappeared. So I like that, but Diana wants to find Nemesis and find out what's going on with her, because she can't fight a war on two fronts, so she wants to try and deal with the Kale problem first. So she goes off and finds where Nemesis is hiding, and I love this section of the book. Obviously, we said last issue that Jesus' art is good, but not obviously the weaker than the Germanico and Nord that we've had before. But I do think this art in this issue was better than last issue, and I loved all the stuff her in the cave, looking through and finding Nemesis.
It was really up and down for me. Some pages were really rough looking. Other pages were really... I felt like the action ones were a lot better.
That's
anytime fair. There's like pause faces,
Matt,
there's
Matt. I'll jump in. No, I'll agree with that. Like, I think the stuff when she's talking to Aphrodite at the start is a bit more shaky.
Steve holding his hand at his neck like he's clutching at pearls. I'm like, where'd that direction come from? Because I like to think that Wilson is a better writer than to have him go like, why I never, So yeah, there's some weird posing stuff, but yeah, the action sequences are really good. Like the stuff with Nemesis, I enjoyed.
Yeah, all the build up, her going through the cave and picking up the photo. I liked all that stuff a lot in the art. But she finds Nemesis, and Wonder Woman basically realizes, wait a minute, Kale's not got you trapped, you've got her trapped. I mean, Kale doesn't know this. Kale thinks she's got Nemesis under her thumb, but Nemesis is really manipulating things because she bites Wonder Woman right in the arm, and like, then at the very next page, Wonder Woman starts like talking about how angry she is, and Ares, it's his fault he took his own life and destroyed the world. He will pay for it. I will make him pay. She starts getting very vengeful. And she realizes what's happening. She's like, wait a minute, you've infected me with your power, if you will, your poison, which is basically hatred and, you know, as the name would imply, you know, rivalries, because Nemesis. So she realizes this, and she goes off to try and talk to Kale. And, you know, Kale is done talking to the press or whatever, and she comes in. And Wonder Woman tries to tell her this, and she hugs her. And I actually really like this moment. How did you feel about this, where she just hugs Kale, and Kale at first is like, oh god, what are you doing? And
Get away from me.
Yeah. And then she breaks down and starts crying. She's like, I just want her to be safe. Of course, talking about her daughter, who disappeared with the mascara. So.
And I like that, again, it's Wonder Woman's compassion that shows through. And it's like, hey, Veronica, I know you think you're in control of this, but you're not. She's controlling you. Did she bite you? She's like, well, yeah, it happened, but I got a rabies vaccine. It's fine.
Yes,
oh, I just the pacing that Wilson uses here, I really enjoyed.
No, it's great, and I think the other thing is one of the complaints that maybe had a little bit last issue is that she feels a bit more Lex Luthor than usual, and I feel like this kind of fixes that. That she was under the influence of this you know, Nemesis. Yeah,
right.
It works.
So yeah, I like that, and I also liked what they're doing with the idea of them all being refugees now. Because I think Aphrodite says that. It's like, well, if we have no homeland, we have to make it here. And, you know, now we have all the, you know, she talks about the mythological creatures that are out there making a way for themselves. So, yeah, I like what they're doing with that. And I like that Diana and Kale right now have like this ceasefire, if you will, or a truce.
Yeah, because she agrees to call off the lawsuit, and she's, you know, I want to go find where your daughter is and where everyone is, but I can't do that if I'm tied up in court. And she's like, all right, for now I'll call it off. I'm watching in case you pull anything, Wonder Woman, because she still doesn't trust her because she's Veronica Cale, but she's like, no, go find my daughter, and she's got tears in her eyes, and I'm like, no, I kind of love this. So Wonder Woman and Aphrodite agree to go off together and try and find everyone. So Aphrodite summons a magical swan, because that is one of her symbols, which does have the stars inside it as if it's like a constellation. Yeah, I like that touch. Because that final panel is actually really pretty, where they're flying off, and it's just like it's like space at night inside the shape of like them, but they're against the sun. So they're off to try and find everyone. You know, it's funny. I actually really like this issue. I think Wilson's killing it. Like I think so far I've been really into this run, and I'm liking where the plot's going. I think any problems I had last issue, which wasn't a lot to be honest, I think this issue actually kind of, in retrospect, made them all work better, because the revelation that she's under the influence of something made it all kind of click, and I was like, oh, okay, this all makes sense. Yeah,
and they're starting by looking for one of Aphrodite's kids, and at first they think it's going to be Eros, who's Cupid, but it's another one, Ada. I can't even.
Yeah, I couldn't pronounce it. She gave two names for him. I couldn't do it.
I have it right here in front of me. Atalantiades.
Yes.
So that's who they're looking for, which also is the god Hermaphroditus. So should be interesting to see where Willow or G. Willow Wilson takes that. She's not afraid of hitting social issues in superhero comics.
Definitely not. If we're getting to ratings for this one, I think like the art's better, a little bit better than last issue, but it is up and down. If the art was better, I'd probably be going as high as Action. I think as it is, I'll probably go with an 8. But I think it's a really good story.
Yeah, I think you liked it more than me, so I'll give it a 7.5. I still enjoyed it, but yeah, the art really got. And I don't want to sound like Connor here, but
I don't want to sound like Connor.
Yeah, the art kind of got in my way in certain spots, and it distracted me. But I do like where the story's going. Like as soon as it turned that Kale wasn't as control as she thought she was, that made everything from the last issue I didn't like, come into full focus. So.
Yeah, it just clicked in place, yeah. So cool. Which will take us on then to Shazam issue 3. Geoff Johns writing and Dale Eaglesham on the art. So yeah, Shazam issue 3. How weird is it we've got a new Geoff Johns comic to talk about? And it's not like Doomsday, it's not like the big event thing that's happening. It's just he's doing an ongoing. about a
It's
character.
a regular. It feels like John Z in comics. Like
Yeah.
it's exactly what I want it to be. There's, the story that we all know, and then the thing that he adds in that's new, and he tweaks the mythology of the character just a little. And here, that's in full view. Even though this is a new character, the Shazam mythos, if you will, is changing.
There's a lot of world building in this one. We get the backstory of the Funlands and this Kid King.
King Kid.
Yeah, King Kid. And basically he's feeding them all this delightful junk food, and Mary's not willing to jump in, but everyone else. I actually love the art on Darla's face as she's eating a donut. She's like just clearly loving it, and like, come on, Mary, jump in.
Well, remember we saw this place in the last issue was darker than we thought it would be, because the kid's like, no more milkshakes, and the little clown guys are chasing them down. So that was our first hint that something wasn't right. And then here with Mary, and Mary's like, yeah, this place is cool and all, guys, but like we got to get home to our parents, which totally breaks King Kid.
Yeah.
Because he's like, no, I want to be in your family. There were 7 thrones, 1 for each of the Magic Lands. And there's 6 of you and 1 of me, so let me join your family. So tell me your magic word.
Yeah, he wants to be the 7th. He wants to be the Shazam family. And like, I don't know. That's a secret. Actually, I love Mary, like, because I think Darla almost says it, and Mary like jumps in, like covers her mouth. I really like that moment. Do you want to touch a light? So when he tells his backstory and how he got here, I liked that the art in that was Nato, who did the backup in the first issue of Mary's backstory. It was almost like it was trying to appeal to her, so the art did the same thing, but saying, hey, this is just like your story where he was like a runaway, and this place is for kids who have bad parents. And I was like, oh, I like that touch, that's callback in the art. That was a really nice idea.
I really want to identify with Freddy, or not Freddy. I do identify with Freddy more than anyone, because he's the Joker that doesn't take things seriously. But with Billy, right? He's the title character of Shazam and whatnot. But Mary here being the voice of reason, I really enjoyed. I was really like, come on, guys, we can't stay here and do this. We got stuff to do.
Do you know what I really like about this? Is I like that the book so far really doesn't feel like it's favouring Billy. It feels like it really is an ensemble amongst all of them. And
and that fits in with Shazam, like the family. Like it's not just him. Shazam is all of them, because they split the power. And I feel like when we saw the 7 Magic Lands, I felt that's kind of where it was going. That each one of them is meant to hold sway over one of them. But with how King Kid tells the story, and like you had the ones from Monsterland, which is the one that we saw, that was blocked off.
Yeah.
From the train tracks.
Which they mentioned is meant to be blocked off. That's been blocked off for a while.
I'm trying to think, maybe that's the 7th one that's missing. Like whoever, they're all supposed to divide the other ones. And
because we get like a 2-page spread of that map, and it's the Fun Lands, the Game Lands, the Earth Lands, the Dark Lands, the Monster Lands, the Wild Lands, and the Wozender Lands.
Which I looked up, and that's not a word. So, Johns, what are you doing with that?
I'm not shocked. Yeah. It's basically the Wonderlands, but with the Oz, like Wizard of Oz, slotted into it. So I don't know what's going on there. So basically what happens is that once someone mentions that Mary's 18 because she's like, getting ready for college, she's King Kid's like, she's an adult? What?
There's no adults are allowed here.
Yeah. And then they kind of turn, all these little like clown like henchmen start attacking them and try to grab them. So 3 of them get nabbed. So only Billy, Eugene, and Pedro can say Shazam. So they power her up, and they're like, oh, you're all adults, you're all liars. So they end up fighting, and there's a bit of a tussle. And the end of the issue is basically they all get split up, and Eugene and Pedro get thrown into one of the other lands. Right? It's all this.
They go to Tron.
Yeah, it's this punky sci-fi city, and it's the Game Lands. And I was like, oh man, I thought the Game Lands was going to be like all like medieval games. This is much cooler. It's all blue and neon, and it's glorious. And then Freddy and Darla get thrown into the Wildlands, and we get cops that are a cat, and they're humanoid cats and bears, but
they're basically in Zootopia.
Yeah, but it's a cat, a bear, and a horse by the looks of it.
Which makes me think of Takitani, because Takitani was a tiger in a suit with a bow tie.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering how that's going to play in. But this is also the this is also the continuity that we set forth from the New 52, and Taki Tani was a regular tiger at the Philadelphia Zoo. So, I trust in Johns.
Yeah.
But, I just want to point that out.
I love where this leaves everyone off. Obviously, Mary and Billy are not accounted for. Presumably they're still in the Funlands with the kids and King Kid and all that. But no, I love the world building in this issue. If anything, the only complaint I have about the book is that the front cover. Now, sometimes comic covers can be misleading, but the front cover has what's his face, Mr. Mind, boiling
And he's
Shazam in a broth of some kind.
probably doing some kind of arcade magic.
Yeah, but he's not even in. I mean, he's mentioned. Like we find out that he comes from the Monsterlands,
Wildlands.
Yeah. The Wildlands.
What?
You sure it's not the Monsterlands?
Well, so last time that they talked about that it was rumored he came from the Wildlands but took over the Monsterlands.
Okay, you're right. Yeah.
Yeah, so and then he led the Monsterlands against the rest of them. That's why it's blocked off.
Yeah, I remember him leading them, which is why I thought he was from there.
Yeah. So
there's no Mr. Mind in this, but his exploits are mentioned. So there's a lot of world building, and I like what they did here. And again, the touch of using that same artist of that backup to sort of almost in a weird meta way, kind of like tie into the story that Mary had, so that it appeals to her more, and then we make that connection in the art is actually really smart. So, I dig that a lot. And then the rest of the art goes well. And Santucci is credited, so I think Santucci was also sharing art duties with Eaglesham.
Some stuff, yeah.
So, hey ho. But what are you giving it, Matt?
I'm gonna give this an 8.5. I love everything in this issue. Just King Kid. I was waiting for the heel turn. And it came, like.
I'll probably go with a straight 8, but I did really like it. Like it's like I enjoyed the art. Like I say, I love that touch of using that backup artist again, and I love because this is a lot of setup in this issue, but that ending is like, okay, now we get to the adventure. Now we've got the game lands. Now we've got the wildlands. Now we can do these different things, and they're all split up. So the real fun, I think, starting next issue. But I dug this a lot. Paced very well. Character dialogue sounds great. So, nothing to really complain about. So, where are we on now? We're on Batgirl, issue 32. Mairghread Scott and Paul Pelletier on the art. So, I'll just get my complaint out of the way. Some of the mouths still bug me. I'll just say it quickly.
A lot of the way that Pelletier draws faces bugs me, because they're all the same. Like, they're very square-headed, and it's just a style, but here it felt like, I don't know if he was rushed, but it definitely felt like he wasn't trying to make people look that different.
Yeah.
So
this is actually the end of this arc, although clearly a lot of the aspects of it are going to be carrying forward, because we're not getting rid of the politician, we're not getting rid of Detective What's-His-Face. I'm forgetting his name.
Jason Bard?
There you go, Jason Bard, thank you.
Yeah.
So we ended last issue where the killer's in the building, right? Carmine. Yeah, he's in the building, and Bard's trying to protect what's her face. I'm bad with names. Like 12 books, people. Really. 12 books. Right.
There's just the lady that Batgirl's Barbara's volunteering for.
I want to say Alejo, but I could.
Yeah. No, I think you're right.
But yeah, so Batgirl's sneaking around trying to solve things, and she ends up running into thingy, and they basically have this confrontation where he's like, look, hey, I've changed. Like, can you not believe me? Like, can we not do this? I used to be commissioner. Why don't you trust us? And she's like, oh, I didn't earn that, though. He's like, oh, I didn't mean that, and blah, blah, blah. So what I liked about this is I like the uneasy kind of like, okay, I'll accept that you may be trying to change. But let's try and like tell your guards that I'm also sneaking around and don't shoot me. Right? But we see the killer getting suiting up, and he's like, hey, we have this cliff. I mean, obviously, doesn't kill Batgirl, but we have this cliffhanger where he sneaks up behind her and puts a gun at the back of her head. And then we hear the gunshot, and this is where everyone starts running around. Chaos ensues. Bard's trying to protect Alejo, and they find Batgirl lying down, looking like she might be dead. What I like about this is that it's basically just this like siege issue where all the chaos is happening in the building, and even when Batgirl wasn't around, I was kind of into the idea of Bard getting shot, and then it's like, hey, if you can get me that gun while Batgirl distracts him, And it's like there was a good tension there. I thought, like I think of this arc, this 3-issue arc with these characters, this is definitely my favorite one in terms of just the pacing and the structure of the story.
Yeah, because I like her sneaking around.
Yeah.
And then Carmine also, Also, I wonder what Bard's game is, because don't forget he was also with the, the counter protesters.
He was, yeah.
That caused trouble. So we know someone's in trying to bring Alejo down from the inside, and whatnot. So no, it's really good. I'm enjoying the story.
Yeah,
it's a nice progression for Barbara too.
Yeah, and Carmine gets like 3 of his fingers blown off when the Batarang hits the gun as he's firing it. I just point that out, which is brutal as shit. And so the big climatic thing here, though, is that he gets a hold of her and he's going to kill her, and Batgirl's trying to talk him down, and then blam, gunshot to the head. So the debate then becomes between Bard and Batgirl is like, hey, I was trying to talk him down. He's like, no, but I wasn't risking my client's life. Like, no. Like, this is what you do. And Batgirl's ultimately pissed at him, but she's ultimately hung up on the idea that, her dad always said that, hey, like, yeah, so every so often you have to kill someone in our line of duty, but it always eats at it. You always have to live with it. You always have to like deal with that memory. And if someone doesn't feel like they have to actually, recover from it, if someone feels that they're just okay with it, that's a red flag. So she's back to being worried about him. She was never really not worried about him. She just kind of had an uneasy truce for a little bit while they try to protect him.
Seems like he's doing good by doing bad. Because it seems like he really, I don't know if he really believes in Alejo, but he believes in his job and protecting her. And if he's, manipulating these events, to make the other guy look bad.
Yeah.
So then, but yeah, still feel like there's something weird going on with the pink-haired girl who's running the campaign.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she has these real weird interactions with Barbara, and I just feel like they're standing out, and I can't pinpoint why.
Just watch. She'll be the mastermind behind the whole thing. Because the issue ends with Barbara, like, because obviously at one point Carmine says, "Nah, like, I'm just being paid to kill you. I don't really care about any of this." So as Babs puts it at the end, she's dealt with the gun, but she's dealt with the bullet, but she has to find the gun. So who's behind it all? Who actually wants her dead? That's probably where we're going. If not next arc, then maybe the arc after. So, it was a good issue. I still have some hang-ups in the art, but like I thought the plot in this arc progressively got better with each issue. And there was only 3 or 4 issues in it, but like because I wasn't feeling the first one as much. But by the time it got to this, I was like, okay, I've kind of set up enough now where I'm kind of into what's going on, and Scott's run's kind of like it's not completely hitting out the park. Let's say Supergirl's is right now, or like some of the others, but I think this is a much more solid, dependable run than say what Tomasi's doing, where it's kind of up and down and all over the place.
Yeah, it's not irritating or annoying like Tomasi's tech is.
Yeah,
where you're just like,
when it's had like
you're like, no, this is fine.
Yeah, when it's had a weaker issue or two, it's just been kind of not great. It's not been like this is doing horrible things, and I hate what it's where we're going with this, but. This was I thought this was the best issue of the arc. Not the best issue of the run. I think the previous arc was a bit better, but this issue was solid. So, what are you rating it?
It's a 7.5.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. 7.5. Good. Not quite great. The art maybe holding it down a little bit, but good. So that will take Matt on to Justice League Odyssey issue 6, written by
you done me dirty on this one.
Written by Dan Abnett, art by Carmine and Giandomenico. So what happened, Matt?
Well, let me just say this: the art's really good, but it's Giandomenico. Drawn some aliens, and Darkseid, but I still don't know what this book is. What's going on here? It just definitely feels like stuff changed, and they completely the book that I thought we were getting, where just never. Like, that's not what this was meant to be. But here you find out that Darkseid is kind of manipulating this because he knew about what was going on.
You want to try this?
No, go. I'm recording.
Hi.
Sure.
Yeah, beat it, nerd. No, go.
Mango Dragon.
Beat it, nerd.
You sure you don't want some?
Yeah. Show my door. You're. Oh my god, you're a human rain delay.
Oh, sure.
Oh, jeez. Anyways, let me just say that Justice League Odyssey, as a book, was what that interruption just was. So, completely unnecessary and kind of a waste of time. And that pains me to say because I really enjoy a lot of these characters. Well, 2 of these characters. So before I was rudely interrupted by my lovely wife,
yes.
Darkseid had kind of been manipulating this from Brainiac from the time because he knows if the Source Wall falls, then that can be the end of the Fourth World, and at the end of the Fourth World, New Genesis is gone, which makes him the winner, right? So that's all Darkseid wants to do, because Darkseid is. While all this is going on, he's fighting these Brainiac forces that are trying to take him out, that are in the Lost Realm or whatever it was called. And so by the end of it, as the issue goes, he keeps fighting these Brainiac forces on let me find the planet, on Aeon. The Ghost Sector is what it was called. But Aeon, and they're taking chunks of Darkseid. Like, it's not an easy fight. But as he's fighting these guys, you have the Justice League Odyssey crew kind of arguing what to do. And Jess wants to leave. She's like, I was kind of only here by accident. I need to go. And Cyborg's like, well, no, you're part of the team. Like, you are, outside of me, you're our heaviest hitter. Like, we need you. And she pulls him to the side. It's like, I can't charge my ring. Like, it's not letting me do it here. So I have to be very careful of how I use my ring. So this is why I need to leave. But before they can do that, they end up crashing on Tamarin because of the machinations of Darkseid, because he's kind of manipulating the fall of the Source Wall that we saw in Justice League. And they get hit by this, like, wave of like, particles, and it crashes them into Tamarin. And they run into Blackfire, who is Starfire's sister. And Tamarin's a wasteland, and so Corey's like, well, this doesn't make any sense. This is not how the planet's supposed to be. Then, of course, Blackfire tries to blame her. This is, all Starfire's fault, but she protected the homeworld by basically selling out to Darkseid because he would leave him alone. Of course, Corey has some issues with that and basically tells her to go on your way, because Darkseid comes back here, he's got to kill on sight, which it works, it's Darkseid. So, but basically, Blackfire says, like, she'll kill her sister if she has to. And then it cuts back to Darkseid, and this was all a big thing to plot. Let me find the name of this thing. Because he's the final New God, because he wipes out New Genesis and Apocalypse itself with the Source Wall power. But it was called the Eschaton, and they're a mythological creature on Apocalypse and New Genesis from, like, the Fourth World. And they're basically carrion eaters of anti-life. And they said they would come when the Fourth World was dying to pick apart the bones of the New Gods. Darkseid wants to weaponize these, because of course he does. Because he says...
Because Darkseid is a dick.
Yeah, that too. Says reality's stricken, but it's not dead. Life can be salvaged. And then the Eschaton goes, by who? There's no New Gods left. He goes, there might not be other New Gods, but as you can see, Darkseid is. And you get to the last page, and the Eschaton takes full form, and they're like these big, giant, like, multi-faced creatures with, like, long claws and horns, and they strike Darkseid down, and it says, no, you were. So we can see Darkseid die again. So in my 15, 16 years of reading comics, I've seen Darkseid die more than any other character, I think, by this point. So... yeah, I'm done with this book, I think. It's not at all what I wanted. Like,
yeah.
I signed on for Williamson and Sejic, and then Sejic, couldn't work on anymore. And now, nothing against Abnett. I'm sure he's doing his best with what he's given.
Yeah, honestly, I feel like the problem with this book now is that
Yeah.
it probably has to
It has
hit.
no purpose.
Yeah, it has to. Well, that's the thing. It probably does have a purpose, but the purpose is that it has to hit certain plot beats because that's what's going to tie into whatever Snyder's doing in Justice League down the line.
Yeah.
'Cause, it's all tying into the source wall
Yeah.
and what happened in No Justice. It feels like everything is like, okay, here are the plot beats that it eventually has to hit. Which at this point, I think it'll hit all by about issue 12 and then get cancelled. That's my guess at this point. But I think it's there just to exist to prop up what needs to be set up and nothing else. Therefore, I can't imagine there's a lot of passion in it. I can't imagine that Abnett's like, oh, this is juicy, I get to do all these things with these characters. Nah, you have to get to this point by this date and this issue and just get there.
Yeah, I can kind of say that, though, that Abnett's the perfect guy for this because he's really flexible when it comes to his writing. Like, he can jump in, like, look at those Aquaman issues, but they had to tie into, like, Suicide Squad, and they were fine. They weren't the best, but surely wasn't the worst. And that's with here. I want to care about this team because of Jessica and because of Starfire. And they're not really doing anything because then they argue also about, of course, Azrael's completely taken to this I'm a god thing where Cyborg and Starfire are a little bit more hesitant. And they're like, well, it doesn't make any sense. Because when they start talking to Blackfire, they're like, oh no, Darkseid set this plan into motion before any of you were born. Which, again, that doesn't make any sense to me. So, yeah, it
doesn't make...
It bums me out, man. Like, I really wanted this book to be it.
It sucks. It's not that the book sucks. I'm saying it sucks that the book's not as what it should be. Because I was more excited for this than I was Dark when they were announced, but
me too.
Here it is. This is what we get, and I was going to try Abnett's first issue, but like again, there was 13 books this week, and I was like, you know what?
Yeah. Had I known you weren't going to, I would have skipped it too. But hey, lesson learned, and I already had read 14 books, so it's fine. What was one more this week?
I mean, that's true. The impact that it has is a little bit less, but because there's so many books. But whatever. What did you rate it? If you have...
So the art's really good, and I feel bad giving it a 4.5 just because I didn't care for the story. Like, I'm sure that'll be egregious to other people who enjoyed the story, but I'm not. So it really colors it. And again, I don't need to see Darkseid die again. I've seen this throughout my comic fandom numerous times.
Yeah.
And it's not shocking anymore. So, yeah.
I don't know if anyone is going to be upset. I don't know if anyone's still reading it, honestly.
Yeah.
After like, I think people were dropping it in issue 3 and 4.
Well, I just know I caught flack for dropping Green Lantern. But again, if that's your cup of tea, great. I'm not saying like it's bad, quote. It's just not for me.
I had an exchange with Talking Superman this week actually on the Twitters, where he said to me, those books that you said that you wouldn't be reading if it wasn't for the show, just drop them because I mean there's no point in like wasting the time and the money. You don't necessarily owe it to anyone to read them. And I went, well, yeah. As a matter of fact, I already decided to cut Green Lantern, and he responded with, "Oh no, that's crazy. You should read Green Lantern, you son of a bitch."
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's what I talk about. Like, do I want to save time and whatnot? That's why I dropped Silencer at first. But you hear books are good, you come back and shoot, I could be wrong, and by issue 12, I'm gonna have to go back and catch up 5 issues from this. But we'll see where it goes. Well, you know how I am. I'm a continuity wonk that needs to know every little piece. So
I will be very surprised if this is a must-read by for any reason by the time it ends.
Yeah, that's it. Just free up Starfire, let her come back to Earth and have zany adventures again. Like
free Starfire, free Jessica Cruz. I want Jessica Cruz.
Well,
somewhere.
That too. But let free Cruz after Grant's done. Grant, like I know him. Morrison's done with Green Lantern, so we can get all our lanterns back.
No, give me a Jessica ongoing with Tomasi writing it, please. I'll have that.
There you go.
Next up, that'll take us on to the Terrifics issue 13. Geoff Lemire writing, Joe Bennett on the art. So this is Linya's assembling the others. She's like hoping they'll show up, and of course Plastic Man does with his son, who seems to be taken with Linya. They seem to be sharing a little awkward moment where they're like, "Oh hey, hi."
Yeah, well, because they're both teenagers, right? Like they're both like. My favorite part was the son bonding with Rex.
Oh yes.
Over their distaste of Plastic Man. That cracked me up.
Honestly,
that was such a good moment.
Rex appearing and just immediately like, giving Plastic Man shit just filled me with joy. I was like, yes,
Yep.
yes, these characters like this is why I love this book.
You know, I don't know much about Fantastic Four, but there's one thing I really do enjoy, and it's the rivalry between the Thing and Human Torch. Like, there's this big brother, little brother thing. And, like, you could say this is similar, but there is more of a rivalry here where you feel like Rex really doesn't like Plastic Man. But their team, he's going to work with them. And so I credit with Lemire with building it to make it different. Like, we joked that this is a Fantastic Four ripoff, but, like, it's different enough, I think, right?
I would argue it's a Fantastic Four improvement, but, you know, it's...
Yeah.
I kid. I was just to remind you, the Dreadfuls, the Metal Morpho, Phantom Boy, and Phasma Man. I just want to, sorry, Plasma Man, not Phasma Man.
Plasma
Man. So Terrific's with his wife from another Earth, who has become Mrs. Terrific essentially. She died on his Earth, and he died on her Earth. It's a very
Same way.
It's a very Spider-Gwen thing.
Yeah,
that's what I compare it to. It's very Spider-Gwen, and they basically flipped the roles. But so they basically start hopping through the multiverse to get away from the Dreadfuls, but they're being tracked. So they're just kind of hopping from Earth to Earth to go from Earth, you know,
hyperspace tracking, just like in The Last Jedi.
Yeah, to 51.
Crazy.
And then they have a moment where they almost kiss, and it's like, hey, we should probably like keep our head straight and not like succumb to our emotions because this is kind of weird.
I like seeing the other Earths because we get the Gotham by Gaslight.
Yeah, we get
version.
That's 19, I think. Then we get a Bizarro Earth. We get Batman Beyond. That's Earth 12.
Yeah.
Earth 30, Earth 8, Earth 5, all these different ones. They end up in a very snowy landscape. That's 30. Yes, 30 is the last one to get to. And then basically, you know, like they're done for, and then, you know, the Terrifics show up with Tesla Strong, and also Plastic Man's son's got a costume now, and that's what we're doing. And do you know what I'll say about this issue? This read so freaking quick. See, when I got to this final page, I was like, wait, it's done? No, more!
Yep, I did the same. I got to the last page, and I was like, man, come on, Lemire. What are you doing? You ain't Bendis? What are you doing this to me for? Real quick, you brought up the different Earths.
Yes.
Earth 30, the snowy one, that's the Russian Superman.
Oh, is that Red Sun?
Red Sun. And then Earth 8 is the not Avengers, I'll call it. Like, they're the heroes that look like Marvel. I forget their names. But yeah, so I was just flipping through and wanted to point that out. But yeah, I got to the last page and they all show up, and I went to turn it, and it was the ad for this Ridley Pearson Super Sons book.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh no. But yeah, go Terrifics go, which that's the Knights chant too for hockey is go Knights go. So I read that in that pace, and maybe I like Plastic Man that much more. But yeah, but they got what's her name, the from Tom Strong,
Tesla Strong,
his Tessa, thank you, Tesla. Which I liked. I like that he's tying his run together.
Yeah, because there's a cliffhanger on where like, oh, how do we even find him going through the multiverse? And she's like, oh, I know who we can call. So it gives you this little tease, and it's like, okay, so who they getting help from? And at the end it says Tesla Strong. So no, this was delightful. The character interaction, I'm into them saving Mr. Fantastic. Like, I am so glad this book is continuing.
Mr. Fantastic, Mr. Terrific,
Freudian slip.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was delightful. I mean, it's a very quick read, but I mean, I had fun with it. I mean, it's not the best the art has been. The art has definitely been better with some of the other artists we've had on it.
Yeah, it was a little bit like the ink felt a little bit heavy in some of those. Like when the Terrifics are standing there waiting for everyone to show up, some of those pages on Linya, the shading's real heavy, but that's minor. Trying to think. I love Rex's entrance because he comes in as gas through the vents.
Yeah,
I thought that was pretty cool.
As does Element Dog. Let's not forget.
Don't forget that either. So, but yeah, it's real cool. I'm excited for Yang to take over the book, but kind of sad to see Lemire go because you can tell he's just having a blast, like playing with the multiverse and all these different versions and what it means for these characters. I really enjoy.
He's too busy making properties that are making him rich from TV deals to continue with this sort of
as one does. Yeah. You know, he is really great. Um, I am planning on reading Black Hammer, so curious to see how that fits in with this, because it is his kind of ode to superheroes, right?
Oh yeah, there's
Like,
several characters you're like, that's kind of that character, that's kind of that character.
yeah, and I kind of feel that's what Terrifics is a little piece of. It's like a flavor. Almost I'm like going, hey, you guys like what I'm doing here? Well, over at Dark Horse, I have a whole universe
Yeah.
of this kind of stuff.
Dark Horse, of
So,
course, is a lot sadder and melancholic, but
yeah,
sorry, Black
yeah.
Hammer is a lot more not Dark Horse in general. Dark Horse in general is a lot of things.
I
But
get what you're saying though,
yeah,
because but yeah, it's.
but
What are you rating
it's
Terrifics?
delightful. Straight 8 for me. I had a blast. Unless it's too quick of a read's a complaint, which I don't think it is. I think that just means,
Yeah.
I mean, unless you go through it and there's just like no words and it's just like 2-page spread of like static images the whole time. I think this is just a quick read because it just flowed so
Yeah.
well.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with the 8. It's like you keep saying delightful, and that's the perfect word for this.
It's delightful, yes. Which will take us on to the Silencer issue 14. Dan Abnett writing, V. Kenneth Marion on the art. This is last issue. Honor got Lazarus pitied, if
Yep,
to say that in the worst way possible.
revived.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she is on the missions for Talia. She's taken out any of the Leviathan sub bosses who were working against her or need to be taken out, cleaning
Yep.
the riffraff, as it were. And so Honor's basically going through the issue, just like taking out bad guys and like sneaking into places. And I love the one where she says the code word and the guy opens the door, and then she just kind of goes like that and does the shush, and like
Yeah.
you just see the outfit appearing over her face. Oh,
Yeah.
it's good.
You're talking about like static images. Well, these weren't exactly static.
Mhm.
I love how the action scenes play off all silent, because of her power, and just the way that Abnett and the artist have dealt with that. It always makes it fun, and I never feel like, oh, we're doing this again. It always feels fresh.
Yeah.
And here, it cross-cutting with
Talia.
Talia, and then her family with Honor's husband and son, and what they're going through. I thought that was really cool.
There's something wonderfully sinister from Talia where she's like, we won't just kill her family who are left because in case she reverts back and gets her memories, we still need leverage. So leave them alive.
An insurance policy.
Yeah. So that was pretty dark. And the family stuff is basically her husband is like learning things about his wife he didn't know, finding the secret shield system she had implanted in the
That's
garden.
what it looks like.
Yeah, it was this shield appears at the end. He's like,
I love that the go ahead.
I was gonna say he's like, Honor, who were you? Like, who was my wife? It's like that. So he's discovering stuff basically.
Yeah. Well, and I love that like he tended the garden, right? But there was an issue where we saw her out there,
Yeah.
right, with the son and stuff, and the elderly neighbor comes over to bring him dinner because he's grieving and he hasn't been to work in a couple days, even though he gets dressed to go there. And she's like, "Oh yeah, the garden's looking a little, run down. Like, is that because Honor's not here?" And he's like, "Well, no, I tend the garden. I just haven't been in the mood." And then she's like, "Oh, well, I used to see her out there all the time." And so I love that it's this little tiny thing that he not only was he unaware of her past, he was unaware of what she was doing throughout the day.
Yeah.
So it's like, who was I married to? He has no idea. But yeah, just this little, tiny little thing that made such a big change in his view.
Yeah. But the big thing,
and-
of course, is that as we get following the issue, when Honor gets back to like base and she's like, taking her stuff off and all that, she's got a photo of her family. And then that's when our narration, because she's been quite, not only just in dialogue, but she's been quiet in narration all issue as well. Her narration kicks in. She's like, "I know who I am. I remember everything, and I'm just playing Talia until I can take her out down from the inside." And I'm like, "Yes, yeah."
Well, she's killed her once before, and we all know she's an Al-Ghul, so that doesn't stick.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I feel like she's gonna try to bring it down, Rogue Agent, and I feel like Quietus is there because they still haven't built him a new body, so he's there running like field op, type stuff for them. But so it's good that they're keeping all these characters around and stuff. But what Talia reveals is Honor and Raze, who we saw her fight a couple issues ago.
Yeah.
were part of this Al Ghul or race or Ra's al Ghul. I don't say race, but Ra's al Ghul plan to create these genetically modified children warriors, which automatically made me think of Damien, right?
Yeah. Yeah, but they're basically engineered metas.
Yeah.
And she's like, yeah, Ray's was one, and then the other, my dear, was you. And Honnor's like,
Yep.
wait, what? So
she is family to Talia, as far as I'm concerned. You know?
yeah. Although there's a kind of jealousy thing there now, because Talia's like, yeah, he wanted a better child than the daughter he got. So there almost seems to be like a jealous like sibling thing here now.
Yeah. Well,
Like,
and it's not just like she turned on me. It's she's her own person, and I'm trying to be an Al Ghul at play here. Like this book hits some subtleties I would have never guessed from the first issue, being JR and like all action. You know, all these issues later, it's really become like this standout. Like I don't want to say spies, it's not quite spy, but action thriller kind of like. If they ever adapted this to a movie, it would be really cool.
And I actually kind of like how it ties into, like, you know, Talia and, like, just that side of the DCU. And then we know Leviathan seems to be playing into other big things going on right now. So, like, this is the start of a new arc, this issue. So we know we've got at least one arc left, if not more. But hopefully it keeps going.
And as far as we know right now, her mission is to go take out. She had siblings made from this program. And now Talia expects her to go terminate them. And so the whole under arc of this book, of this issue, was her family, and now it's like, well, now there's family she didn't even know she had.
Yeah.
And she's gonna have to take them out and whatnot. But yeah, art was pretty good. Who was the art again?
Kenneth, Marion. He did the last issue as well, I think.
Gotcha.
No, solid. I mean, it's not as good as when Bogdanovich was on the book. But,
so I was gonna say.
But it's solid enough. Like I think the action has a good look to it. It's trying to keep the same style as what the previous art did. It's maybe not just pulling it off to quite the same extent, but no, it's there. The coloring's been very consistent, so a lot of it does feel like it is carrying over in the same world. It doesn't feel like we're in a different part of the universe or anything like that. So that's good. What are you rating it?
It's an 8. I enjoyed it a lot. Like this book's coming to its own. Like I didn't want to like it, but it's won me over.
No, I agree with you. I think Silence has been really solid for a good arc or two now. Ever since they went to Action Land, basically, it's been kind of just on fire since. So no, Silence is really good. So yeah. But speaking of New Age of Hero books, we have the final issue of Sideways. This is issue 13. It's Dan Didio writing with Kenneth Rocafort on the art, and this is the ending question mark to the Sideways story, because they do actually intentionally leave it in a bit of a cliffhanger where it's like, hey, there's going to be more stuff with this character at some point, somewhere, wherever that may be. Yep.
And this is one of those where I shake my fist and go, Didio, because he's always played for kind of laughs, you know, or to his expense. But he has a good story in him from time to time. And this one, I thought with how up and down this book has been, this hit all the stuff that I really like, from the relationship with Derek and his best friend
Ernie, and her joking about joining a team.
And just the fallout with his mom, and the end of last issue, because I got caught up because I missed that one because I had forgot to read it. I totally forgot that his birth mother came in. Yeah. And I love that. I can't remember if it was this issue or that issue, trying to speak Spanish to him and getting mad at that was his dad.
Yeah. Yeah. You didn't teach him Spanish. How dare you? Yeah.
That's his heritage. Like, he should know. And whatnot. And just, I still have issues with the dad's motivation where he's like, oh, well, no, really, that was, you know, my wife's kid.
He's a horrible dad. Yeah, he's terrible.
I'm just like, you lived with this kid for how long? Like, did you just adopt him last week? Because I don't talk about the cat like that. And we were gifted a cat, but now she's my cat. We've had her for like 6 years. You know, like, it's crazy. So that's the one off thing for me. But a lot of the threads get tied up. We see Tempest Fuginaut in his little
he's talking
face between
to this mysterious character who seems to have given Derek his powers, and the way this character, who seems to be a woman talking, My implication here is that she is actually his mother from a different universe, specifically the Dark Multiverse, and she had this power, and she gave him the power so that he could go home. Because when he was in Gotham, when the Dark Multiverse stuff was happening, he fell into this world, and she didn't want him to stay. She wanted him to get back home, so she gave him the sideways power, if you want to call it that, to go back home. The implication, because she was like, "Oh, he's like the one I lost," implying that she had a Derek, and the Derek died. So I'm like, okay, I'm into this. And then at the end of the issue, you know, when he goes off with Ernie for a date somewhere, his phone, he finally said, I love you, Mum, in the text, because he had all these texts he didn't answer. And we see the phone just say, I love you too. And then it's, what does he call it when he's singing, when he's sidewaysing?
The
Rifting.
riffs.
Yeah, the phone riffs. There's a little rift and the phone disappears. And it's like, okay, so it's probably that version of the Mum from the Dark Multiverse, or is it more than that? I don't know, but that's the implication I got.
Yeah, so you also find out that who killed the mom, and it was kind of accidental well, not really accidental, but it wasn't what we thought it was.
Yeah.
With the, with the big company, it was her assistant who was just tired of working for her, and things went bad, and they had to cover it up, and that was a little disappointing too. Like, that felt rushed, because you felt like there could have been more story with that.
I wonder if that's because it get cancelled though. I wonder if there was maybe going to be more to that.
But what I do love, probably my favorite page in this entire issue, is that last page with the phone, because of the way that it's paced out, where he sends the text, and then it says delivered, read, and then you see she's texting, and then her response. And I just thought that was handled so well.
Yeah, that was good. Obviously, there's
maybe a little dusty.
There's the mystery of, like, or not mystery's not the right word, but, you know, did Derek kill her? Did he kill the killer? Because he has her on the car over the edge of the cliff, and it looks like he's just going to leave and let her fall to her death. But I'm suspecting that we'll probably find out somehow, whenever he pops back again,
her.
that he didn't, So, no, it's because obviously it's a kind of a dark note to leave on, that he got revenge. He murdered this woman by the end of the book, so... I would expect that'll be like revealed what he actually did at a later date. So it does say the end question mark, so I think there probably is at least some kind of vague plan to bring him back somewhere. Yeah. But where, I don't know. Hope we see him again, because I like him, especially if Ernie comes back with him. I feel like we need that supporting cast to an extent to make it work. I don't know, does he become part of a Young Justice team? Does he become part of a Teen Titans team? I don't know. But he would fit. I
would love him on the Teen Titans. Him interacting with Damian and just rifting him away.
Not while Adam Glass is still writing it, though, because I'm not going to read it.
No. I just mean down the line. You know what I mean? Yeah. No, it's really good. Glad I came back to this one, too. This is another one that I came back to.
Yeah.
Middle Dark Multiverse stuff was kind of weird.
Yeah, that Seven Soldier stuff was the low point of the book.
But the rest of it, really, really good. Like him wanting to deal with the powers, and like that whole thread of him like rifting body parts off.
Yeah, that was so good.
That was real fun. And then the villain that got powers through social media, like people paying attention to him. I thought that was fun. Like, but yeah, I don't want Sideways to go away. He's well welcome in the DCU.
Yes, he can rift back in some future date. What are you giving the issue, Matt?
I'm gonna give it an 8.5. I really, despite the misses, the way that it kind of tied up Derek's story and the stuff with the mom, it pulled on my heartstrings a little bit. So
I don't know if I can quite go that high. I'm gonna go with a 7.5. I did feel the rush and the wrap up to the murder mystery element of it.
Yeah.
But I did like the emotion stuff with the mom. I liked the intrigue at this mysterious character at the start. And I like that he is going off on a date with Ernie. So if we never see him again, it does feel like he's going down the path of like him and Ernie are going to, be a thing.
Yeah.
So it leaves in that hopeful tone there. So I'll take that. So, but yeah, 7.5. So that is Sideways. That is Sideways, the last book. Which takes us on to Martian Manhunter issue 3. Steve Orlando writing, Riley Rosmo on the art. So this is book number 12 of 13 for the record. We're getting there.
Yeah, we're almost there, guys. I have a feeling these last two are going to be quicker. So.
Very possibly. So this issue, basically, he is telling his partner, Diane, what his origin is, how he became to Earth. Which, just first thing, I thought this was meant to be in continuity, but this completely contradicts everything we know from Justice League.
Yep. Yeah. So this is out of continuity.
It has to be, yeah.
Yeah, which is fine. Which some of the choices that he's made, I like. I like that we'll have like Orlando type of things in the story for Martian Manhunter going forward. If someone wants to adopt those, I really like this whole like we get to see the Erdell origin where he gets ripped away, but it seems like he was ripped away right as the cataclysm on Mars was happening.
Yeah,
because he's yelling for his daughter and wife.
The big thing, though, that separates it, and the reason why it can't be in continuity with Justice League, is that he clearly indicates that this was in the past. Like, he travelled forward in time when he came here. And if that's the case, then he couldn't have been captured as a child and then sent back to Mars. So so clearly it's not in continuity with Justice League. Yeah. We can't do that.
Yeah.
So...
but yeah, he gives her now the heart attack, which is part of the Martian Manhunter canon. And then now he can't get home. Which there's not a home for him to come back to anyways. So he's all depressed, and he just kind of wanders the countryside, invisible, observing Earth culture, which is completely different. He's like, well, the Thulakandrons came out of their caves, and they had a society a lot like our Martian one. So I liked a lot of this here, but I kind of wanted to see what was going back on in Mars. Because that was the story, that the sickness that was going around and him being a crooked cop. This just felt to go into regular Martian Manhunter territory, right? Like,
yeah, I mean, in the first issue though, some of that Mars stuff was the stuff that I hated. So
yeah,
it's kind of a 50-50 thing where I kind of respect this was focused. There was no part of this issue that I thought was annoying to read. I liked the idea that he was honouring John Jones by wearing his face for a while, but then he got used to it and he didn't want to take it away because he liked not having to hide. Even though he's still technically hiding who he is, he wasn't just invisible, floating around and being kind of ghostly, essentially. So I kind of like that detail of it. I do actually like this origin from coming to Earth in the sense that it makes more sense that the Martian civilization's been dead for a while. That's it makes no sense to me. I mean, I know they usually explain it with various other things like they've got cloaking or they're hidden or whatever, but it's more neat to me that at least since we've had NASA, that Mars has been dead. There's been no one on Mars. Yeah. It's been unpopulated. That makes more sense to me. So I like that better.
Yeah. No, that's good. But yeah, I really liked him honoring John Jones, and that's why he took the body. And I liked that it was the Martian custom that you take the form of your loved one that's passed to honor them for a cycle. Which here, I guess it's 10 days. Which I thought was weird, but whatever. And then he takes down the serial killer. Well, just the way that he said for a cycle, I'm pretty sure,
Yeah, but Mars is further out, so 10 days is probably a Martian week.
I guess. I hear cycle and I think years, because you're making a cycle around the sun, right?
All right.
Yeah. So
Unless a Martian day is 10 days Earth time, it spins slower. I don't know if that's true, though. I'm just...
Yeah, I don't know.
Because that would be a cycle. That would be the planet spinning.
No, that's another one. I just wish it was a little bit more clear when he said a Martian cycle. Did he mean
maybe Orlando is just assuming we know what the time difference is with how slow Mars spins. Yeah. I mean that feels really slow. I don't think it is, but I'm just making a guess.
Yeah, but I do like how that serial killer with birds tied to his body. That if anyone was meant to draw something like that, it's Riley Rossmo. Because that was all types of creepy. And him taking out the serial killer, that was really cool because he becomes a monster. Using his shape-changing powers. And now him and Mead have to work together, whether they like it or not, to solve, this mystery. Which the issue kicked off with the poor girl. Yeah. I think she's having some experiment done on her.
Yeah, it starts and ends with her, and she's got this bubble on her head, and it's pumping gas into her and whatnot.
So, and it looks like some other type of Martian thing is what's responsible.
A red Martian?
Yeah. Which I was only aware of the white and the green. So.
Oh, Matt's doing some googling. He's checking. Is this a pre-established thing?
Martian DC is the first thing that comes up. So
Oh, there you go.
yeah, I don't know. Yep, it's one of the three. They seem nearly identical to Green Martians. Come on, let's pull this up.
Yeah,
So
I'll
it's
be
not
honest.
much is known about them, as they only appeared in one issue of the Young Justice comic.
Oh, really? That's funny.
Yeah. So
It's funny because when I got to this, I was like, yeah, Red Martians, that sounds like something I've heard of, even though
yeah,
clearly they're not used as much as white or green for obvious
No.
reasons. But well, not obvious reasons, but just obviously that's not been used.
Yeah.
No, this was an okay issue. I wasn't in love with it. I think Rosmo's art still is hit and miss for me. It's so stylized, but not necessarily in a way that appeals to me.
Mhm.
So that's kind of there. It's kind of a hurdle to get over. Like, because this was going to be the book that if I had to cut a second issue to like get all the books in, this would have probably been the one that I cut second.
I almost didn't, because we went to dinner last night, and there's a local restaurant that's been open for decades that's closing. So we went, and we knew there was going to be a big rush, like for people trying to get in before it closes. So I brought it, but trying to read it in a crammed restaurant waiting area, I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to read this by tomorrow. But luckily I woke up early enough that I got it in. But yeah, this one was almost my drop, because again, I didn't know you were dropping Odyssey. So someone had to fall on that grenade, though.
Yes.
But yeah, and as much as I was enjoying the first two issues, the change of pace was a little bit like, I know Martian Manhunter, and the reason I got excited for this book was the whole corrupt cop aspect of it. And I feel like 3 issues in, jumping to this where he hasn't really learned about, being a good cop and wanting to take over for John Jones and stuff. That's where I thought it was going, so that's mostly on me. But yeah, I kind of want to get back to the whole crooked cop aspect of this. And I don't know if we're going to get back to that.
Well, yeah. Here's the question though: Did he get better? Did he like turn over a new leaf while he was still on Mars, or did he do that from
Right.
learning on Earth? Like, was it Earth that changed
Right.
his outlook?
And that's what I kind of want to do. So, like, if this issue came 6 issues in, right, instead of 3, we'd have more time to kind of get a feel for that. But I felt like I missed an issue because of this just jumping to him coming to Earth. So, but yeah, I mean, it's fine. If I'm rating it, I'm probably going to give it a 6.5 or a 7. Yeah, I'll give it a 6.5.
Yeah, it's tough because I don't think it's bad by any means. Like
Yeah.
I get why people are into it, but the art definitely drags it down for me a little bit. Yeah, I'll give it a 6.5. I don't quite want to give it a 7. Although I don't know other people like it more than that later when we get to our end of week stuff. But that'll take us on to our final book of the week, which is Freedom Fighters issue 3. Robert Venditti writing with Eddie Barrows on the art. So after the very quick issue 2 that was mainly the action sequence of all of our heroes kind of like fighting the bad guys, this issue slows down a little bit and let's just set everything up. And we have this ship, this submarine that they've got, the Blue Racer or Blue Tracer, I think it was.
Blue Chaser.
That they've got. And they're hacking into systems. They've got Black Condor flying around with an antenna on his back, trying to use that to hack into things, and he's getting shot at by their missiles, and it's a fun sequence. I think this issue did a good job of like saying, okay, we're going to focus on just one character, which was him.
Yeah, they kind of did, but we got his backstory and we got Phantom Ladies, which I really appreciate because we're seeing where they're coming from.
Well, that's the thing. I think we get a little bit of her, but it's definitely more focused on him. And I think we'll probably still get an issue that's maybe more leaned towards her as well as the main group. And obviously we found out that he had to escape from essentially the slave city where his father is and all that. And she's like, yeah, I came from like a rich lawyer who worked for the Nazis, but like I have guilt too. So we're we have differences, but it doesn't necessarily mean that I'm not as equally valid to fight in this. By the way, Phantom Lady, that's a kick-ass visor she's got. Those shades.
You and your weird eye mask fixation.
That big silver visor, I love it. She's got that. It's like the Bret Hart glasses, but with silver instead of purple. It's great.
No, I like that action sequence where he's taking out the Nazi planes while they think it's just an attack. The Nazis do, but it turns out that they're they're infiltrating their signal, and it cuts it so close, and I felt like the pacing was really well handled there.
Yeah.
Because I even had a sigh of relief when he finally drops the jet not the jetpack, but the pack that has the antenna in it, and the missiles blow it up. I thought that was real cool. Like just the way that was all built.
Yeah, it's a full page spread though. It's a nice climax to that scene. I also like the earlier on in the scene when he's flying around and like he's dodging and like making them hit themselves and all that. With the missiles, he actually like the guy in the ship, the submarine, is like, hey, this is going slower down here. Like you're going to have to stall for a bit longer. And he's like, I was hoping you'd say that. Like he's like you can feel that he's restless, being cooped up in a metal box, and he's like, no, I'm going to fly around and like kill Nazis. Well, that worked.
Yeah. No. Also, we get some backstory on Hitler, and we get to see Hitler die as an old man.
We do, yeah. He is convinced because it was back to that day in the '60s when they took out the freedom fighters at the time, and he's like, yes, but did we get Uncle Sam? It's like, no, Uncle Sam disappeared, but like we killed the spirit. Like America's done for. He's like, no, Uncle Sam is the American spirit. If he's not truly dead, then like there's a chance it'll come back. And he ends up like having a heart attack and dying right there and then. And his son is sworn in as the new Führer, and he dismisses that Uncle Sam's a threat anymore, which presumably is about to come back and bite him in the ass in present day.
Yep.
So that's going on. But we find out there's an Adolf Hitler III. This is the thing. There's an Adolf Hitler III who is dangerous.
Yeah, who's complete psycho. He's the leader of the torture section. And they also tease Overman or Superman. Of this, which I wonder if they're gonna have an Overgirl too, like on Crisis last year for Supergirl. So, Crisis on Earth, was that Crisis on Earth X?
Crisis on Earth X, yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah, so they're teasing that, and they're like, well, no, first we'll let Addie, because that's what they call him. Of course, he has a cute little name. We'll let Addie deal with it, and then if necessary, we'll get Overman involved. And I know from solicits, Overman appears on one of the covers, so it looked like Addie getting the job done.
Yeah, I mean, Addie seems kind of psychotic. He's torturing people. I like the idea that Adolf Hitler II is like, oh no, I mean, this is kind of a wild card pulling at the third, but desperate times, desperate measures.
Wild card, bitches. So,
but I enjoyed this again though. Like I was into this issue. Like Freedom Fighters. I came into this like, oh, it's Vendetti. I don't know if I love the concept, and I'm like so into it. I don't know how this happened, but somehow
it just turns out that Vendetti was never meant to write Flash. That's just so far. That's the one thing of his I haven't enjoyed. So, and parts of his Howlin' Pals, but whatever. For the most part, I enjoyed it. But yeah, no. Here when they hack the system and they put the American flag all over the TVs.
And it's playing a song as well, right?
Yeah, it's playing, is it God Bless America? Because that's what the Nazis want to take out.
Yeah, by Irving Berlin.
Yeah. So, but yeah, it's so fun. It's a great alternate history, like book and what the freedom fighters I feel should be. And when Uncle Sam shows up, should be a rip-roaring time.
Yeah. I imagine the spirit of Uncle Sam will eventually reveal himself. But yeah, so what are we rating it then, I guess?
I'm going to give it an 8. I really enjoyed the majority of it. I'm trying to think of some negatives. There's not too many. Eddie Brower's art's kind of, not want to say hit or miss, but the action sequences look really, really good. And some of the more dialogue where people are standing, you can tell he just puts it on there. It doesn't seem as inspired.
I don't know, that visor looked great. Art's perfectly fine by me. So, no, I will agree with the 8. I'm surprised with how much I'm enjoying this. I think this did a good job, because I think the first issue was mainly set up of what the world is, with the big ending of them showing up. The second issue was all action. This issue, it was time to start letting us get to know who these main characters are, because up until now we've got names and that's it. So I like that it's starting to do that, and we're getting a feel for who they are. So it does that quite well for Black Condor, and then the Hitler, the third and second stuff is quite interesting. So I am into it. So 8 out of 10.
Yeah, I don't like. I just looked at that page. Where it's Adolf Hitler 3, like it's the movie. Like, oh man.
But yeah, so that actually takes us on to the final part of the show where we pick our favourite stuff of the week. We do panel/moment, we do art, we do cover, and we do top 5 books of the week. And given that there's 13 books this week, top 5 means something. There's
Means
so much
a
we're not,
lot.
yeah, there's so much not making it in. So what's your panel/moment, Matt?
So mine's from Heroes in Crisis, but I'm not sure which one I want to go with because there was a couple. So I'm gonna look back at them as if that's the one I want to go with. Yeah, it is. It's gonna be the page where we see Wally get zapped with Booster, and then Harley comes behind. And that whole sequence, I really enjoy it because it completely changes the way that Heroes in Crisis works. But a close runner up to that was the Harley and Ivy page, where they're in the room and they're holding hands, and it's all very intimate and I think really nicely done.
Yeah, I think my panel. This is a tough one. So many books, but I think I'm gonna go with Wonder Woman. I'm gonna go with the hug. I think I'm going with the hug with Kale.
That's a good one.
I think I wasn't expecting it to work. I think because the page ends with her hugging her, and then you turn the page and she actually breaks down and starts crying, and I was like, you know what, this is working for me. I'm into this.
Yeah.
The emotional beat hit for me. So, all right. So, what is your cover of the week?
Ooh, this one's tough because there's a lot. There's just a lot of books to choose from.
There's a lot of books to choose from. Yes.
Like, I do like the Shazam variant, but I also like the action variant. But Heroes in Crisis, because that's that character right there. I don't know if you know that Pete. That's Saturn Girl on that cover. Just wanted to clear that up.
That is a callback to a website who claimed that was Saturn Girl on the cover.
Yeah. So
silly sausages.
Actually, you know what? I'm gonna make it the action regular cover just because you have all those agents surrounding Jimmy, and Jimmy standing on the S shield.
I was actually going to say that. I was going to say the regular action cover.
Okay. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, that's really good. Best art then of the week.
Yeah. Mine's gonna be the trifecta of artists on Shazam, because I feel like what you had pointed out of King Kid's story, trying to gain trust of Mary by being the same artist. I think that I didn't pick up on that until you brought it up, and that I think that's a really smart way to use separate artists. And just Eaglesham looked really good. A lot of there's so much at work there. You have that Tron City, you have the animal people, you have all of Funlands. So yeah, I'm gonna give it to Shazam.
Yeah, I think for me it's between that and action with Epting.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a toss up. I think I'll go with action, but
Okay.
I love what they did with Shazam though, with the other artist, NATO.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I'll go with action overall. Epting's art's just fantastic. I think it's playing to his strengths, even though it's a Superman story. Is that we've got all these dark
stuff.
espionage stuff, yeah. So that's really cool. All right, so best top 5 of the week, rather, if I can speak properly. What's your top 5, Matt?
So number 1 is action. Number 2 is Shazam. Number 3 is Heroes in Crisis. Number 4 is Sideways, and number 5 is Freedom Fighters.
You did that far too quick, Matt.
Sorry.
My number 1 is Action Comics. My number 2 is Shazam. My number 3 is Wonder Woman. My number 4 is Terrific.
So Conrad, this is why you order them beforehand.
Yeah. Number 5 is probably Silencer, I think. Yeah. Yeah, I'm looking at the ones that stuck out. Although Freedom Fighters has got a case for it actually. But Because the ones I'm looking at that are definitely not making it are like Heroes in Crisis, Flash, Detective. Batgirl's not too far behind, but I there's enough books that I'd rated a bit higher.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no, I think I go with that. So, so action, Shazam, Wonder Woman, terrific silencer. I think that's what I'm going with. So,
yeah.
There you go. That's the top 5 of the week. And obviously, I always ask on Twitter, when I remember at least, for our followers and whoever wants to chime in for their favourite books of the week. I will tell you that almost every answer was either Action Comics or Martian Manhunter.
Wow.
I know. So one agrees with us. The other one, obviously, clearly, there's a bunch of people who like Martian Manhunter more than me do, which is cool. That's fine. Different opinions, all that. So, I mean, it feels weird to even bother saying that talking Supermans, but yeah, it's action, baby. Never seen such a seamless blend of Superman and espionage. It's action, baby. That's how he opened that. I feel like he's a bit biased, though. I mean, his name is Talking Superman.
Just a little bit. Yeah. I mean, but that's what people say about me too.
Yeah. At T_Van48, either Martian Manhunter or Action Comics. I like the way Martian Manhunter retold Jean's origin story. The added respect it gave Jean for John Jones was really cool. Action was a bit more of a setup issue, but I like what it's setting up. And then we also have at Jason_Ardern. I really enjoy Martian Manhunter issue 3. I loved the retelling of John's arrival on Earth. John's. Well, he said John's, but I'm going to correct it with John. They are explained his partner's viewpoint well, making both viewpoints relatable. That's fair. And then at that's Scott Revels. I mispronounced his name a couple of episodes ago, which he pointed out. Action Comics. It's a thriller that I'm really really invested in. I didn't read anything Superman before Bendis. He was the big blue, boring Boy Scout. Calm down, Matt. Calm down. Now he's so much fun to read. Bendis hasn't misstepped at all for me so far. Honorable mention to Sideways, going to miss Derek. Yeah, as we are too.
That's like, that dude's like the complete polar opposite of Connor.
Yeah,
I was always reading Superman until Bendis.
Yeah, complete opposite. But thanks to anyone who answered the question. And just keep a lookout every week for the tweet going out the night before, and give us what your favourite books of the week were. But that is that. So I will now tell you what is coming next week, and I'll tell you this, Matt, it's a lot less than it came this week. So unless something else has changed, Doomsday Clock issue 9 is supposed to be next week.
It is.
Yes,
it's listed here.
Doomsday Clock 9 is next week. Holy crap, it's happening.
Yeah.
Brace yourselves. But also out next week is Batman 66, Justice League 19, The Green Lantern issue 5, Green Arrow 50, the final issue of Green Arrow. We have Young Justice issue 3. We also have Adventures of the Super Sons issue 8. I think we're trying Female Furies issue 2 as well.
Yep.
Also out next week that we will not be covering for sure is Deathstroke 41, Curse of Brimstone issue 12, which is the final issue of that, Harley Quinn 59, and Suicide Squad Black Files issue 5, as far as I can tell. So,
yeah.
So that's next week's show.
Oh, much more manageable.
Much more manageable, yes. Even week 4 next month's not nowhere near as well. Actually, 1, 2, 3. Jesus, come on! Why does Dial H for Hero have to be added onto that week? Are you kidding me? Alright, at least Odyssey's gone. I can take that away. I will say
go blah blah blah. So mad.
The one interesting thing though about the next week 4 is that Detective Comics 1000 will have its own episode, so at least that's not on that show. So that's at least a good thing. So there you go. That'll be out earlier in the week than we get the regular episode out, folks. If you're looking forward to that, just like we did Action last year. I think the plan is to record that on the Thursday, but we'll keep you appraised of the situation when we get there. So yeah, that's what's coming. That's what's coming next week. So you can of course let us know what you thought of the books in the comments below. Like and subscribe, all that stuff. All of that helps out, as there's rating us on your podcast apps of choice. But if you really want to support us in a big way, you can go over to patreon.com/MailFuzzTV, where you can support us For as little as $1 per month, you get access to some bonus stuff. Especially at the $5 tier, you get access to the monthly episode that me and Connor do. The last one we did was the first Grant Morrison trade of Doom Patrol, which was a 16-issue beast and took us a while to get through. The next one coming up was the winner of a vote. Every so often we put them up for a vote for our patrons. And the winner was Batman Court of Owls, so that's the next one that's coming up.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're doing the Geoff Johns Shazam story from New 52. As the one after that, so to tie in with the movie. So that's the next stuff coming up. But we've got like 15 of those episodes now up there. We've been doing that for about a year and a half. Well, yeah, not quite that, but close to that now. So there's a backlog of episodes to check out if you do join up. But yeah, so go have a look at Patreon. You can buy some merchandise as well. There's links in the description to both the US and the UK store. You get yourself a Constant Multiverse hat or hoodie or t-shirt, and you can flaunt it.
Or all of them.
Or all of them, yes. If you really feel like splashing out, but otherwise, that is us. So, Matt, any final thoughts, words?
No.
Oh, your mic's gone.
I mean, just buy merch. Yeah.
Perfect time
Buy
for your
merch.
mic to go. Oh, there he is. He's fixing it up. Okay. But yeah, that is us. So thank you once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep reading DC Comics, guys, and always remember to never get lost in the Speed Force.